everyone, welcome once again to Primetime Crisis Live. I'm your host, Captain Logan. It's week 4 of Season 2, and we are talking about a plethora of shows this week, including the pilot for Supergirl, which we're all really excited to finally get to talk about after months and months. And so I'm sure at least 1 or 2 people on the panel got this. If you watched it months ago when it leaked, I didn't do that. I wanted to wait until it actually came out broadcast. So some folks have even been waiting for a long time and knew what it was before we get to talk about it. If you're watching live, thanks for being here. Good to see you. If you're wondering what this bizarre thing is on my head, we all decided to wear Halloween costumes because it's the day after Halloween while we're recording this live. And let me introduce my panel of co-hosts wearing their crazy costumes. First of all, it's the Real Manos.
Hey everybody, it's me dressed up as me from 1997. Here's my KB Toys outfit.
Manos, that's awesome that you still have that. And are you like me, are you still kind of crying that store's not around anymore? Like, I really miss that store.
I actually do miss that store. I really enjoyed working for that place. I worked for that. I was working at KB Toys for 3 years, and I was there for, like, the N64 Christmas when that exploded.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. I sold a lot of people Superman 64, and sorry, I didn't know what was in the game.
Hey, what's coming up next? What can you get? Flying through rings.
Yeah. If you're looking to fly through rings, this is your game.
If you're looking to not hardly be able to fly through rings, that's your game. And next up, it's Darth Steve Baxi.
What is thy bidding, my master?
And it
would have been great.
And it's the Curious Low.
Manners maketh man.
I'm
dressed up as Eggsy from Kingsman.
That's pretty cool, Low.
Thanks, I'm obsessed with the movie.
It's a good movie.
I quite enjoyed it.
And as always, our wonderful chat moderator, Jackson Rasco.
I have no idea what this costume is.
I know what Rasco's dressed up as.
What is he dressed up as?
He's the god Tom Cruise prays to.
That's the best joke of the year. I think we're done for now. Nothing gets better than that.
Yeah, thanks for watching Primetime Crisis. We'll see you later, folks.
We're good.
So Dan Torrey, unfortunately, had to work late tonight. He's not going to be able to make it. I have no idea what he would have dressed up as. Probably, I mean, he might have worn that Venom mask with the crazy tongue. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get lucky and he'll be able to show up toward the end. But and if you're not familiar with Spawn here, I'm dressed up as Freakadoo. From Spawn here because it was a thing that was close, and I forgot we were wearing costumes today. So,
yeah, like 10 minutes ago.
I grabbed that as soon as I was like, "What do I have clothes?" Well, the Spawn suit's in about 8 different places, and that doesn't sound practical. So I'll put this on. I do have the scythe though. Here's Freakadoo's scythe. So I have my prop. Anyway, well, folks, once again. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Good to see you guys, and good to be seen by everybody else. If you have never watched this with us before, we have a blue chat in the description where you can chat with us, and Rasco will, throughout the show, periodically pull out questions and comments from you about whatever we're talking about. You can help direct our conversation. And also, if you want to vote for your favorite show of the week, go to the poll, the easy poll in the description, and vote for your favorite show at any point during the program, whether or not we've talked about it yet. And why don't we go ahead and get right into it, folks? We've got like 7 or 8 shows tonight, so let's get cracking, shall we? We begin with the Supergirl pilot, which aired this week on CBS. And CBS, man, why in the world are they not linked up with Hulu? Like, I went to Hulu to watch that, and you click on it, and you got to go out to CBS's website, and they make you sit through like 8 commercials. Between a commercial, it's just awful. So that sucks.
Anybody that follows me on Twitter witnessed me having a bit of a mental breakdown trying to work CBS's website. I was so upset at them.
It's an awful website.
Well, the nice thing though is if you use Hulu, you can at least you can type in Supergirl, and then it has a box for the pilot like it's on their website, and then it goes straight to that page, so you don't have to go to their website. It just jumps out to that page.
Yeah. It's because I have a terrible computer.
Oh, okay.
In comparison, I've had to watch iZombie on the CW website because the same time as Agents of Shield, I think now, and that's easy. I just click it on, and it's as easy as YouTube.
Yeah, CW always had a pretty decent website and a decent player too, actually.
Yeah, it's a pretty good player.
But anyway, I digress. I'm reviewing CBS's website right now, and not actually the show in question. I want to start off by saying that Benoist is kind of the perfect casting choice. Like I just totally dig her. She's really fun. She's super sweet and really genuine. I think I really like her. I might have gone for more of like a more hardened 52 type Supergirl. But if we're doing the more traditional version, this is kind of perfect.
I would agree to that. I like this take on Supergirl. This is something about. She has the kind of earnestness that we tend to like in portrayals of Clark Kent and Superman as well, and it figures. I think it works very well. I also like the whole story arc within this one episode of having to kind of be chosen to be a protector, and that just goes by her. She just can't. She can't be Clark's protector. He's already Superman by the time she gets to Earth. So she feels kind of like lost. And unlike in comparison, the Supergirl film, she was lost too, but also as a film, the film was lost. So, which is why it's so hard to watch sometimes. But this found direction for her very quickly within the hour episode. Yeah, I loved it a lot. Her portrayal was just really, really solid. I think she sells that character very well. You believe her.
Yeah. I'm with you, Manos. I like the idea of her trying to find her place in the world, and and not super generically either. I mean, that's what these sorts of things often are about. And that's what Smallville was about for 10 whole seasons, and a lot of the time it's I've got these powers. I don't know what to do with them. It doesn't even occur to me that I could put on a suit and be a superhero, even though I live in a world that's inundated with superhero culture. And so I like that we kind of get the origin stuff out of the way real quick. Again, there are choices that are made here that I don't. I think neater choices could have been made. Like, I think it might have been neater if we had just started off. She's already Supergirl. Let's go. But if that's what we're doing, I'm glad that we're not spending like 3 seasons on Origin like we did with Arrow. You know what I mean? So many of these shows, it's like the early days of a character, and this is throwing her in a world that is already inundated with supervillains and has Superman flying around in it already. So as much as I kind of wanted to show where it was just Supergirl without Superman. I kind of like that it's already a world populated with those characters.
I would agree to that. Yeah.
Steve or Lo, somebody jump in with something.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. The producers keep talking about how they want to channel the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, mostly just the first 2. And I love that comparison because she is the same kind of genuine, cheesy, wholesome superhero as Christopher Reeve was back when he played Superman. And I really like seeing that on screen. I was surprised by how good the show looked. Like the costume and the special effects and the fight scenes, they looked really good. Even the Flash's pilot episode didn't look quite as big budgeted as this did.
Yeah, and we praised that up the wooza for production value. I looked at my wife when we watched this, and after it went to commercial, after the plane save scene, I was like, nobody would have tried that on TV 10 years ago.
Oh, no. I mean, good Lord. They would have, cheaped it out as best they could.
Go back and look at the bridge scene in the first Fantastic Four movie, and I would make the argument this looks almost that good.
I loved, the plane stuff was awesome. The fight at the end with I forgot the villain she was fighting with through the truck.
It was really good.
That looked big budget movie good. She hits him and he flies back and hits the pavement and it crumbles all around him, Dragon Ball Z like. It looked fantastic.
I liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as you guys did. It's definitely not my favorite episode of the week. I really enjoyed it. I wish that it was a little bit longer.
Well, we'll get into it. I'm talking about the things I liked. I wasn't nearly as impressed as I think Stephen Manos might have been. I just haven't gotten into negatives yet. But yeah, go ahead.
I feel like it could have been longer. I mean, I really like everything that everybody's already mentioning. I think the casting was great. Special effects are amazing. Acting was hit and miss for me, honestly. There were a couple moments that I didn't really believe between the sisters.
That's fair.
And yeah, I wish that, as much as you guys were saying, don't spend as much time on the origin. I don't really know anything about Supergirl, so I kind of feel a little bit lost in her character because it's just kind of like, all right, here we go, and we're saving a plane. Like, she's like already off and running, and I wish it could have been like a 2-hour pilot. We don't need to spend 3 seasons, obviously, but it could have. I feel like they could have spent just a tad more.
Well, I would make
on,
the case though with. I would make the case though with the her growing up, fair enough. Because with the version they're doing, I don't know that there's a lot more to her yet. I mean, I think this is a character that gets kind of fleshed out and gains some dimension as it goes along. And it's probably also making the assumption that her background would be so close to Clark Kent's that you kind of know it already.
True, but they spent a lot of time telling us a lot about like her mom and things like that, and like just kind of showing us like and then like we were already kind of off and running.
Well, if you were going to pattern it a little bit off of the Christopher Reeve films, it might have been nice if at least 15, 20 minutes of that first episode had been her growing up with Danvers. Yeah, no, I hadn't thought of that. Although one note I did have was that I'm disappointed that in this first episode we only got to see Dean Cain and Helen Slater for like 5 seconds, just kind of looking at us. In fact, I watched this twice, and the first time I guess I was making a note or something because I even missed that they were standing there, and I was like, they got credits, we never get to see them. And then I watched it a second time, and I was like, oh, well, they were standing there, they didn't get anything to do.
I think, yeah, agreed. I think their credits were on screen longer than they were.
I mean, and those casting choices are so, like, that's so exciting. One of the things I love about these guys, and of course these are the same producers as Flash and Arrow, regardless of all the issues I've had with them, I love how they cast. I mean, like, it's like all the reverence for this material and the history of superhero stuff on screen. The casting of Flash's dad was a big deal to me because I liked the 1990s Flash show, and so when they did that and brought in Dean Cain as her surrogate father, I was like, yeah, of course, so cool. And then of course Helen Slater, and I wish, and I'm sure they won't do this, I wish this was like Lois and Clark, where we got to see the parents every episode. I want them to show up all the time. Although I'm saying that based on the actors, I don't know anything about these characters yet.
We all know how much you love Lois and Clark.
Well, I just like the parents a lot in Lois and Clark. That was one of the things that was a lot of fun about that show, is that they just always come up with a reason to bring them in, because they're so much fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, I made the comparison when we saw the trailer for this show that it looked like it might be kind of the modern Lois and Clark, and I still get that vibe a little bit. I mean, it's still got some of that cheese factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least it's Lois and Clark with like a better special effects budget. I mean, it looks mountains better.
Yeah. Well, there's not immediately a love interest, so it's not like, will they or won't they from the pilot. Like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. And I thought, the handling of, I liked Jimmy Olsen in this quite a bit.
I love that guy. Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, I thought he was great. I did think it was really funny though the way they set that up from the very beginning. That he knew who she was. Like, he made it so ridiculously obvious in every scene that they were in together. And then in the end, she's like, wait a minute, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that's why he said that your nose looks like Superman's nose.
I really like, they didn't do too much with this, but I really liked this idea that Superman taught Jimmy Olsen all these life lessons. There's like a potential prequel series in this where this guy used to be the weird, awkward, not very social Jimmy Olsen we know from the comics, and through his interactions with Superman, he became like a much more confident person. That's exactly what Superman should do to a person.
That's actually a great example, and yeah, I mean, because Jimmy has supposed to be like, especially back in the 50s and 60s, where they were very big about making that character kind of a hero on his own. He had his own book for I think 20 years or something like that. Fans tend to forget that. Both he and Lois had books for a long time. And yeah, this is the other side of that. You know, he's no longer the dork. He's this like cool swab guy.
Yeah, but still very much Superman's pal. I just really like that they still have that worked in.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, real quick, though, I'll tell you what my biggest problem with it is right now. I was worried that I was hoping that they would make this okay for me, and they haven't yet. The fact that this is a world that has Superman in it, and that he's just around all the time, and that they're not really casting him. Maybe they will down the road. I really doubt it. But that he's in the background, and that they're doing a giant Kryptonian plot with Supergirl, and he's not going to be involved. I'm having a really hard time with that.
Because they're going to have to come up with some reason why he's not involved. God,
if you're gonna do that, why not just send him off planet? Why not come up with some reason that he's not on the planet, and then she has to step up?
How awesome would it have been if they could have got Brandon Routh to play their Superman?
Oh my God! See, you have to say that because that's such a good idea. Like, yeah.
So he could continue on, at least, because, you know, if this kind of rips on the Donner verse, you know, that movie is also part of it in a way. So that could continue off. I mean, and you know, it'd be a good way to explain maybe he's not in it. Maybe he's like, you know, because he has a son in that verse now. So I mean, maybe that could have been like maybe he's, you know, slowing down a little bit, and you know, she's picking up the slack because he has a super murderer child.
Who's learning to play the piano?
Yes.
I mean,
don't let him do the piano, for God's sakes.
And then that would have almost been Manos kind of a neat handoff from Smallville, given that was the last screen thing that we had, because Tom Welling sort of kind of puts on the Brandon Routh suit at the end of that show. So it would be really cool if it was the Brandon Routh suit. I wouldn't have even thought of that. That's cool. But I mean, like, so like I said, just the fact that we're having this giant I keep wanting to say crypto freak. This giant
crypto freak. Why not? Let's do it.
We got this giant Krypton plot, and as soon as she puts on the suit, all of these Kryptonians that are angry with her mother, and I like the idea, by the way, that her mother was a judge, although Sarah looked at me and said, that means her mom was one of the big heads. And I was like, that's hilarious. That is what that means. Her mom was a big head. Yep. But they're all going after Supergirl just because that's her daughter. I have a really hard time buying that they didn't go after Superman for the same reason. He's of the House of L.
I suppose so, but maybe, I don't know, maybe Jor-El didn't have anything to do with their incarcerations or something.
Yeah, but if they didn't, there was no reason to think that that Kara would have survived. I mean, like, she just shows up. So, like, he's the last survivor of Krypton besides them, as far as they know.
Yeah.
And he shares he shares Allura's blood. They should have been after him this whole time. So I don't know. Some of that stuff's bugging me, and I hope that it gets cleared up as we go along. But I don't know. The premise is a little bit muddied for me. I liked the a lot of things about the execution of the plot, but the premise is a little muddied for me.
I like the fact that we have the DOE in this, which is interesting. Which is a kind of like DC Shield, except they specifically specialize towards super people. I would love it if Agent Chase showed up in this show. That would be a nice. That would be a good character for this show if she would be popping up in it. I do. If I had any, did. See, the thing is, I thought this pilot did a lot of what it's supposed to do. You know, it sets up character very well and explains origin to a point and sets up the series. You know, it does. I think this does everything it's supposed to without being boring. Or convoluted or anything like that. I think it does it very well. I think if I had any kind of minor criticism, but probably, I don't know if I'd call it a criticism or even a nitpick, but some of the dialogue I felt in a couple of key scenes, I felt almost felt a little too explanatory, like a lot of exposition in some, because I know. And to be honest, I'm not going to be hard on them about it because I know what it's like. You know, they're starting a new series. They got to explain a ton of stuff. They don't really have time to bring this across. They don't have 2 hours, and we got to get going. We got to get you interested. We got to keep you from being too confused. So sometimes that requires squeezing a lot of information in dialogue. Yeah, it showed in a couple of scenes, I thought.
Manos, I don't think you're nitpicking. That was kind of my other big problem with it, honestly. I had issues with dialogue just kind of in general. Like I feel like this is kind of like a mediocre pilot to what I'm feeling will be a better show. It's a like I said, I liked a lot of the characters that were established and the initial ideas and stuff. It's just a matter of like the way some of those lines were written. Did we really need Hank Henshaw to explain to Supergirl what kryptonite is? Like, I have a really hard time buying that she's not aware of kryptonite. I mean, like unless Superman's never encountered it, but the DOA has a bunch of it. Like really? Okay. There was stuff like that.
Yeah.
Most of my dialogue issues were with the roommate. Like, I feel like that character came across as really annoying. And I wanted to like her. I wanted to like that situation, but there were just so many moments where she gave like the worst on the nose dialogue possible.
Do you mean the sister?
The sister, yeah, whatever her.
Yeah, the sister, yeah.
I'm totally with you, man. I had that too. And she provided the biggest contrivance to the episode, which is I get why she was on the airplane, but really, like, the day they have the conversation about Kara feeling like she's not relevant enough and wants to be a hero, that's the day she gets in that flip. Okay.
Yeah,
right
that was
after
interesting.
the conversation.
Yeah,
Like
like an hour out. Yeah. Okay. Of course. I'm just saying we could have been more organic than that.
I don't want anybody to think I didn't like Supergirl. I really liked the pilot. I kind of agree that with Cap that it's going to probably be a better show overall once.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I don't see. Yeah, I mean, the problem. My biggest problem, I guess, was the some of the exposition and dialogue, and that's one of those issues. Like, to me, is like a first episode problem, or even a couple episodes. As you get your sea legs going.
I don't know though, Manos, because Flash and Arrow do it all the darn time. I mean, like, I guess my thing is I'm just seeing a lot of the same problems I see with those shows in this, and it didn't blow me away the way the Flash pilot did because they're really similar in a lot of ways, right? Like it's another like really optimistic, more happy kind of show, which is awesome, and I'm so glad we've got more of that. And I like that we've got another potentially really good superhero role model that doesn't have to be ultra angsty and constantly brutalize people, and that kids can actually kind of look up to, and that's really good. But when you have a line in your show like, I'm glad there's finally a hero my daughter can live up to. I hope she's not as morally ambiguous as Flash has been this year. like there's stuff like that, or I'm just I'm kind of seeing the possible problems moving forward, and hope that they avoid those. But it's the same people making the show, so I don't trust it.
I think one hurdle to get over pretty quickly compared to Flash, at least, is that we finally have a superhero origin that has nothing to do with the tragedy. Like, she's not Supergirl because her mom, dad, or sister, or a boyfriend died. She doesn't start from a resentment-fueled rage anywhere. She's just an optimistic person who wants to do the right thing. And we don't get that nearly enough outside of comics. Even in comics, we don't get that enough.
Yeah, her adoptive parents are still alive, for what we know, right?
Yeah, and I mean, she doesn't even seem upset about the fact that her parents died, because she had a mission. She was okay with it. She's not angsty in the least bit.
No. Well, we're also catching her, like, years later. That's something she's dealt with already. At this point, we've met her. Because here's the thing. I mean, unlike Clark, she actually knew her parents. So that's actually, kind of a bummer. But it's something. What's
Sorry,
that?
Go ahead.
But it's something she's learned to live with and deal with. So I mean, that's the point. I mean, she's now kind of adopted this homeworld family as her family. It does come up again emotionally for her when she sees her mother's hologram. That scene I thought was fairly well done. And,
which, by the way, I love that, because I think there's every potential for a really complex mother-daughter story, just like the Superman Jor-El story often is. In fact, I was a little disappointed that wasn't an interactive hologram. I was like, I kind of hope she gets to talk to Allura through the show. I want them to do that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I have talked about that in the past, where I think you and I talked about that once recently, Logan, was it seems like mothers' roles in a lot of superhero origins and backstories are very minimal. I mean, it's like their job is to give birth to the character, and that's it, and then they don't talk, and then they die. Where this one is like, oh, hey, she's actually pretty important to, like, not only her origin, but so far, I mean, it looks like a lot of story is going to hinge on the things she did.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hoping that they don't completely have her father take the back seat just so that the mother can get to do stuff, because he's a fascinating character in the comics. There's a lot of different things that have been done with him, and I'd like to know if he was a scientist, what his relationship was with Jor-El, all that stuff also. So I hope they do stuff with both parents, but they should bring her more to the fore and make it a mother-daughter thing.
Yeah, because we're all familiar with the whole Superman talking to Jor-El for, you know, who knows how long all the time.
But a lot of people aren't familiar with Zor-El, and he's often a really fascinating character.
Yeah.
But okay, so who exactly is the General Ant? Like, is that just a big mystery, or is this someone we're supposed to know already?
I'm not familiar with the character. How about you guys?
I googled her name, couldn't find anything, but I don't know much about Supergirl, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, because what's fascinating about that, of course, is that she has an aunt named Laura, who is Superman's mom, and I'm sure that's not who it is, but what if that's who it was?
Oh, no, that can't be it.
That would be hilarious. Well, I don't know. They made Jor-El evil for a couple of years until they retconned it in Smallville, so anything's possible. But yeah, and then there's this big mystery, of course, and I hope that they don't just scrape this under the rug. But there's this big mystery of she somehow or rather got out of the Phantom Zone, and nobody knows how. And at first I thought they were just kind of like sideswiping it, and then they mentioned it again, and I was like, I think there's a mystery there.
Yeah, I'd be curious to...
So I'm very intrigued about that.
I hope they put that together in a really thoughtful way, because that could potentially be very interesting.
I also think Hank Henshaw is probably already evil.
Well, he's the leader of a government organization in a comic book universe, so he must be evil no matter what happens.
Rasco, you have any questions or comments?
Yep, we do. So, okay, this one is from Johnny Torch. He says, why did people have an easier time accepting Agent Carter's heavy-handed feminist message, but Supergirl's doesn't get as big of a pass?
I don't think Carter had a heavy-handed message, really. I mean, that was a thing that I complained about early on, where I was afraid it was going that way, and then I thought that they nailed it at the end, and it was fine. So yeah, I mean, like, I will say, I don't want to talk a lot about this. I do think that's a little heavy-handed in this show. It's something I can live with, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like, it's pretty blatant here. Yeah, so I don't think it should get a pass. But I think Carter did it better. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well, Carter was definitely, as much as I really like this pilot, you know, Carter is better, just better all the way around written.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's one thing. And also, you know, these things come in, like, steps, you know, like, you know, Carter broke through, you know, a lot. So, you know, this one, this one's already, like, you know, working on that ground. So, I don't know, maybe people really didn't bring it up or really discuss it because we've already been through this. So, you know, who cares? That's kind of how people are. Let's see. I thought that I really loved how sexism and misogyny was actually incorporated into the plot of the show of the Agent Carter, and where, you know, really did become, you know, it really did become a focal point, and it was actually a problem she had to step over in order to, you know, to win the day. Was, you know, her own societal problems, which is actually a key element in a lot of Marvel stuff when you think about it. Like, you know, with Spider-Man and X-Men, it only made sense. You know, that actually just follows.
In that period, I mean, yeah, I don't know how you don't tackle gender stuff dealing with that period and her in the position she's in. And like I said, I was afraid it was going to get too heavy, and ultimately I think that they handled it okay. I think this is being a little bit over, where it's like, look at us, we've got a female superhero, and I don't know, just do it. Just, like, make her straight. Don't talk about it, just do it.
I think
that's how I feel about it.
To be honest, it really didn't bother me much. Maybe just with the exchanges with Hank Henshaw, and it was just like, okay, yeah, you're a jerk. Yeah, I get it. She's like a super god person. You're gonna be sexist to her?
I thought he was racist to her before he was sexist to her.
No, I didn't pick up a racism. Well,
I hate aliens, Manos. I hate aliens.
He only wants to build a wall around the planet. How dare you call him racist?
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I don't think
Kryptonians are gonna pay for it too.
Manos, that bit where Alex was like, oh, you don't think she can do it just because she's a girl? I thought that was totally out of place. His thing the whole time has been, I just don't trust aliens. What does that have to do with her being a girl? Nothing.
Maybe. See, yeah, I forgot about his alien thing. Actually.
Anyway, anybody else want to weigh in on this thing? I didn't want to bring it up because it's been a little bit controversial. I just didn't really want to talk about it, but somebody asked, so I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
It didn't really bother me that much. I mean, it's definitely heavy-handed. That line you mentioned with Hank Henshaw is awful. I'm okay with it. I like that that's the direction the show is going. It's going to be about making a role model for little girls. I'm okay with that. And there was something else I wanted to mention. I can't remember what it is now.
Is the dark side getting to your brain?
I think it might be.
Okay.
Yeah, now I just kind of want to force choke people. I'm not sure what's up with that. Okay, yeah, I forgot what it was, but no, I'm still enjoying it. I feel like it definitely has issues, definitely has growing pains. The thing with Agent Carter as a comparison, that's a show that was designed to be a TV miniseries. It knew what it was going to do episode to episode to episode. It didn't need a traditional pilot to set it up and then see what happens week to week. Supergirl has a much harder job in that way. And so as far as pilots go, it's really heavy-handed, it's really bad with the exposition, but there are very few TV pilots for anything that we've reviewed that were really any good. The Flash was a lot of fun, but it still had some of the same problems. So I'm okay with this going forward. I just hope it keeps the tone it has right now. I love how bright the whole show is. And Flash very quickly became a darker thing, and I don't want that to happen here.
No, I don't either. And once again, it's okay if the bad guys are dark. I mean, I think they've established that really well. We're like, I think some of the Kryptonians are liable to be really scary. Did you guys notice, by the way, there's a guy I think has got to be Parasite on one of those monitors. I think we're going to get some traditional Superman villains in this. I wonder how many, and if they will have fought. It'll be cool if we get anybody that Superman's fought already.
I have heard.
They cast Nam, so we know we're going to get him. So we might even get Ursa and Zod.
We're going to get Nan? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
hopefully that means Ursa.
Earlier, a few weeks ago.
I hope they do the gag with the stick where he can't use his heat. I hope his whole thing is I can't use heat vision, and I'm really mad about it.
And if I heard
that's his whole thing.
If I heard Toyman is going to be in this show. I heard there was casting for Toy.
Toyman's going to be in this, and Red Tornado's going to be in this too, I think.
You know what? I don't know if you guys know this little bit of history, but he actually murdered Cat Grant's son in a storyline back in the 90s. Yeah.
They will probably do that.
I don't know. We'll see. There's a couple of different versions of Toyman, so I don't know which one they'll have.
Because you know what would be really cool? Taking Cat Grant and taking her dimension and a half and putting like another dimension and a half with it. That'd be awesome. If down the road we could do that.
I would. That would be amazing to see the other side of the character. We didn't really talk about her much, but yeah, she's kind of one-sided jerk.
She's a cartoon character right now.
She is a cartoon character.
And she's fun, but she's a cartoon character, and I'm just saying that's not a criticism. I'm saying that down the road, I feel like we could flesh these characters out. If they wanted to.
And that's what I hope. And, Callista Flockhart is good enough, pretty good actress, actually. So, I mean, she could definitely show us those different sides of the character if they exist. So
when we were if they exist, when we were talking about as a geometric shape, we're just not sure how far around it goes right now. If I may, real fast, I also meant to mention, and yes, we're spending a lot of time on this, but it's a pilot. We wanted to kind of talk it out. We'll be brief for all the other shows tonight. But I wanted to mention, Steve, you were talking about how it's a brighter, happier show, and Manos was talking about how Supergirl is a character who's kind of gotten over her tragic past. Isn't it really amusing that I compare her to Oliver Queen? She spent a lot more than 5 years in hell, like a lot more. She like she was perpetually 13 for 24 years. and she's managed to get out. Now I don't think she was awake for that whole time.
No,
Or
probably
she,
not, but
or
if
she
anyone's
knew it.
for a few years, it's going to be awful.
Yeah. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, you can potentially get over it. I don't know, but I mean, she didn't have to she get tortured that whole time. She's never felt pain. She was in the Phantom Zone and has never felt pain. So I guess I buy that she can be this optimistic and happy with her life. Rasco, how about a couple more questions?
Okay, so Mind the Gap just pointed out that the Toyman actor is an older actor, and his son Win is on the show. Apparently, that's the guy at her work friend.
Oh.
One who called her a lesbian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody just pointed that out.
Because that's the conclusion everyone would always immediately jump to.
Well, she did was like, hey, there's this thing about me, and I realize that this is who I am. Yeah, that is usually. Those are usually two roads. I'm a super person, or I'm gay. It's like
and in the X-Men universe, even more so. But
Yeah.
but I suppose if it's a guy that just asked you out yesterday, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, every guy who gets turned down wants to believe it's because you were gay. That's why. It's not me. It's because you were gay. And it's totally cool.
It's like, no, I want to tell you my secret that I've only told 300 people. No, I'm still not interested in you, but I'm gonna tell you that because. Oh, by the way, that was actually one of my favorite moments of the whole episode. That is exactly what I would do. Oh God, I've got to tell someone. I loved that. Rasco, what else?
So David Crabtree says the Flash multiverse could set up a possible Supergirl crossover down the road. Yes, it could, and I hope it does. That's the only way I would buy these universes crossing over because there's been a lot of talk where people are like, oh no, the Kreisberger, whoever has said yes, they're definitely in the same universe. Nobody has Superman, and nobody's ever mentioned Superman in the other shows, and Superman is the only superhero here. Real quick, that was another line that drove me crazy at the beginning of the episode, because you've got to have, I guess it's just obligatory now. You have to have a cheesy voiceover at the beginning and end of every superhero show now. And she says that she didn't become a superhero because the world didn't need another hero because it had Superman. And while she's saying that, we're hearing police sirens. That bothered me a little bit. The world doesn't need another hero. It's police sirens.
Hey, I gotta ask you something. Is National City a DC city? Is that?
I was gonna ask you the same thing, Manos. I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that either, and man, that's a lazy name.
I thought the same thing. National. Well, at least they're not like Central and then put it on a coast.
That's as lazy as Central. I always thought lazy. I thought Coastal and Central are like the laziest city names they could come up with, and National is just
Supergirl. Yep. Nope. They made that up.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a national city in actual California, but the closest thing I can find in the comics with that kind of name is Midway City.
Midway. Yeah, I mean, at least they. Yeah, at least they went with Midway's the place where where everybody has a pinball machine in their house, but. But I'm glad that at least they went with kind of DC sounding random made up city. Rasco, how about one more, and then we're gonna have to move on.
Okay, so this is from Rin. He says, moving forward, I would like it if they did a version of the Death of Superman arc, since I think this show needs to let Kara come into her own. Superman isn't needed for this world beyond the initial premise. Kara is perfectly fine with being Superman of this universe, in my opinion.
Me too, and that's why I originally said, wouldn't it have been really cool? And I'm not saying that the show is bad because they didn't do what I want. I'm not saying that. It's just that they're wanting to do this strong female superhero show. I think the idea of doing a world where you have Supergirl and not Superman would have been really interesting. Killing him off, I wouldn't have thought of that. That's not a bad idea. And you got Hank Henshaw. I mean, you've got the building blocks are set for it a little bit. I mean, do it. Do it up. Now, that would suddenly make it a dark show, but that doesn't mean that she has to get super dark.
Yeah. She doesn't have to date Lex Luthor.
What do you think, Steve? Is that a good idea?
No, I like that. It'd be great. It'd also be awesome if they brought in Superboy and potentially train him. He's one of my favorite DC characters. And we've got to a supposed Teen Titans show in the works, and since that's not getting any actual traction, it'd be cool to set up that character here.
The way they did her name, the Supergirl name, which I don't really care for. It would be really funny if Superboy came in and Superboy had the same thing she did, where it was like just like in the comic, don't call me Superboy, I hate that. And she's like, no, I have to be Supergirl. You should be called Superboy. And then she just like, that's her big thing is like it gets to the point where she's the only person that calls him that, and he's like, stop it. And she's like, no.
Well, let that be a lesson to all you superheroes out there. You name yourself immediately.
Do it right away.
The media will name you, and that's it. So, something happens, you have to stop and go, hey, I'm Superwoman, or something. I don't know.
All right, guys.
Drop everything.
Well, as much as I'm sure there's lots more stuff we could talk about the Supergirl pilot, we should go ahead and move on, and we will try to kind of rapid fire the rest of our shows tonight. Let's move on to Star Wars Rebels. Always Two There Are, which with that title, I immediately assumed Yoda would make another appearance, but he didn't.
Yeah, what's with that?
I don't
name an episode of backwards speak and not throw Yoda in.
I feel the same way. I also question what the point of the dual Inquisitor thing was, Steve, because as cool as I thought it was to suddenly throw in this female Inquisitor, and I liked her, she was spooky, and that's my review of the whole episode. It was spooky, and I liked that about it. Why are they making a big deal out of that? Because it's obviously a callback to the Rule of Two, but you don't have an apprentice and a master and an apprentice. It's just like two random Inquisitors that are like. Going after people, but not even together. They're almost in competition. Like, what was the point of that?
I really wasn't sure what the deal with that is. And they called the Inquisitor from the first season the Grand Inquisitor, so I assume like there's a whole group of them at now, and maybe they work like bounty hunters or something.
I want to say he was called that a couple times in first season, so I don't think that's an afterthought, but.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure. I know her name is the Seventh Sister and the guy's name is the Fifth Brother, so clearly there are more Inquisitors running around. And maybe they're in competition with each other to try and be the new Grand Inquisitor? I don't know, it's kind of odd.
Yeah, it would have been nice to know at least what the goal was. He goes, no, this one's mine! And I'm like, okay, why are you guys fighting over who gets to kill Kanan? I don't know. Yeah.
It was really bizarre. I guess maybe they all just want to get all the glory or something, but that should have been made a little bit more explicit.
And I guess all Inquisitors have the spinning lightsaber.
I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, you gotta market toys.
Sorry, what, Manos?
I guess that's the thing with the Inquisitors, because I've never seen anybody else have those.
Yeah, they just don't want to learn how to spin their lightsabers. They're just lazy. They don't want to learn.
Exactly. It's a lazier version what Darth Maul had. Darth Maul actually trained to spin his.
Yeah, see, it's a commentary, you guys, on relying too much on modern technology. No, it's not.
We get our lifesavers from Whammo.
Well, what did you think of this one, Steve?
It was okay. Like you said, it was creepy. I like Sarah Michelle Gellar a lot. I like what they did with her voice and made it like all weird and techno and kind of creepy. I thought that was cool. Her character design and the other guy's character design, they both look really cool. They look really menacing. It's really just kind of another setup episode. I guess we'll see where all of this goes. I don't know. I was hoping for a little bit more. I just really enjoy examining what the dark side is like and how do you fight them and the tactics of it and such. And we haven't really gotten much of that. We just keep getting thrown random elements, and I kind of want them to connect the dots eventually.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to create mystery and keep them in the background and make you wonder what the Sith is anymore, or if there is such a thing, or what these Dark Force users are exactly. And I'm with you. I just hope at some point we get we get to actually explore that and dissect it.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Rex was still around.
Yeah, I hope they keep him around. It'd be kind of cool to just have him as a background character for the rest of the series.
Yeah. The kind of argument about philosophies of discipline between Jedis and soldiers, I think, was kind of a cool idea. Again, we didn't really explore it a lot, but I feel like I should be, usually with a thing like this, I would be irritated by the argument and constant fighting between Kanan and Rex, and I'm not. I'm kind of buying it.
Yeah, I enjoy it, especially because Kanan is, for all intents and purposes, still kind of just a Padawan that grew up too fast. Rex would have a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge, and those two characters butting heads and having different worldviews, I think, definitely works. It's just a matter of, like, yeah, explore a little bit more. There is a different kind of discipline that goes with being, for all intents and purposes, a cannon fodder soldier, the way the Republic designed them, and being a chosen Jedi Knight. Like, there has to be a little bit of friction between those two guys, and I would even like a whole episode where those two guys are like stranded on a planet and have arguments with each other. I think that's something worth exploring.
On the other end, though, I'm not so keen on Ezra and Jeb's juvenile antics and the way they're at odds, because it's just so typical, and they've still not really gotten Ezra out of being like a Disney character. They still kind of have that problem.
Yeah, he's not annoying per se, but he's not growing up at all. And you think he would at this point.
A little
like, the Inquisitors just showed up. You fought Darth Vader briefly. You should be maturing pretty quickly.
Well, he might mature faster if he ever got to learn that stuff about his parents that Hera still knows that we don't know. That I know I bring that up all the time, but like it's been a really long time, and like we never got that. That never happened. Yeah. Manos, what did you think of this, man?
You guys are pretty much covering a lot of my opinions, too. I felt it was a really effective episode. I like the creepy atmosphere of the space station that's been shut down for a while. Almost a Doctor Who-ish.
Oh, that's a great point, yeah. That operatic music, man. Like the opera, I don't know if you guys caught that. That stuff was awesome.
Yeah, that was. It also reminded me of that one Transformers episode where they went to the Autobot space station that Optimus Prime was buried at. That was one of the instant things I was reminded of. I like how wrecked it is. I enjoyed Sarah Michelle Gellar a lot in this. I do like her modulated voice where she sounded like a Decepticon. I'm talking a lot about Transformers for some reason. and I do like the... we don't know much about these two Inquisitors because I assume this is the first time we've seen them both together. We're given hints at what they're up to, so I assume that'll play out as we see them more throughout the series. Like, what are their agendas? Either together or separately. Are they trying to replace the Grand Inquisitor? So yeah, I dug this episode a lot. I will agree. I'm still getting used to the new characters' names. The young boy training to be Ezra. Okay, yeah. He hasn't really kind of started to bother me. But then again, I'm still getting into the show, so hopefully he'll grow up a little bit. Hopefully they're avoiding the Disney-ish quality to him. That could be done because I think in another show, Dipper Pines on Gravity Falls is not written too typically similar to a lot of Disney young heroes. I think he's actually extremely well written. So yeah, I just thought this was a pretty solid episode. Actually, I think I enjoyed it a little bit better than the previous weeks, frankly.
Oh, I did too, definitely. Yeah. Especially just the ambiance.
I really did, because I watched a little bit of Clone Wars, so I'm familiar with the clone characters that sort of gained independence of themselves. I like that tension you were talking about between him and the Jedi. I do wonder, do these guys kind of subconsciously blame each other for the fall of the Republic? I mean, because both these sides were fighting this war. They both kind of just screwed up. So I wonder if that's a little part of the tension. I hope that plays out a little bit more. Actually, I like the fact that the Clone War characters are in this a little bit, because I watched Rebels a little bit here and there, but the characters haven't really, grabbed me, as much as the rest of this. I like the series and I like the premise, and all the production value in the show, but the characters themselves have taken a little time for me to, kind of, relate to.
Yeah, I think they can still be pretty generic sometimes. Rasco, give me a couple questions and comments real quick.
Okay, so this is from JID123. Do you think that the Inquisitors taunted Ezra about not being a real Jedi because the Inquisitors aren't real Sith?
That's fascinating. Or maybe it's because they are.
Yeah.
There's no way they're actual Sith. The Sith just wouldn't operate that way. Darth Sidious would kill them. So they're not Sith. But maybe if they subconsciously have that issue, it'd be kind of interesting to explore. Because all they really are is cannon fodder. All they really are a bunch of people that have a decent amount of force sensitivity, and they're getting thrown in to capture Rogue Jedi. Darth Sidious and Vader probably have no plans to do anything else with them, although it does kind of bring up an issue of what's going on with the rule of 2.
Yeah, either that title means nothing or we don't understand it yet. And I like obviously you would not name it that, and people give me crap about titles sometimes, but seriously, like you're gonna call it that and it not have anything to do with the rule of 2? No. Not in Star Wars. I just don't buy that. What else, Rasco?
So this is from Michaela. Ezra and Zeb feel like the show's weak links, especially Zeb. Ezra at least feels like a character though, but Zeb just feels there.
Yeah,
a cartoon Disney sidekick for all intents and purposes.
I mean, he had that one moment this episode where he felt kind of insecure because he's sort of the dumb one. But that's, kind of obvious and typical. Maybe they could do something with that, like have him go to space college.
And have him learn trades like space gun repair.
Yeah, and then, or he could just open his own paintball shop. Anyway, go ahead, Rasco. Maybe one more if you've got anything good.
Okay, so Lonely Chips.
Lonely Chips!
Star Wars. Alright, so I heard that the clones were basically retired by the Empire. Why would the Emperor want to dispose of the clones? Clones were rather useful from my point of view. Seems like such a waste. I like Stormtroopers more, though.
That's a good question. I think
they're all aging.
Yeah, I think part of the problem was, and I'm not sure if this is in canon or if that was explained anywhere else, but I think part of the problem was that they couldn't stretch the DNA any further, and they don't have Jango Fett anymore, and they don't know where Boba is. He's running off being a bounty hunter, so they can't probably get any more. So that's probably the issue, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if anything in canon explains that.
I'm hoping Boba Fett is somewhere taking acting lessons.
Remind me why those were the only. Well, all he's got to do is grow up and then immediately, just not. Remind me, Steve, why like that was the only person they could clone.
I don't know. It's just an Attack of the Clones thing. It's just there's a cool character that we tie into the original trilogy. Now, how about he's useful for no explanation?
Yeah. Well,
there's a reason Attack of the Clones is the worst of those movies.
It sounds like you're describing that movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's move along, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about Gotham. The episode in question is By Fire, which is a pretty obvious and appropriate title. Moving on from the Firefly episode, last episode, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me that this next episode would be another Firefly episode. And then I was like, oh yeah, she killed the cop. I forgot all about that. And then she gets another episode. Did anybody else have what I had, where when she and Kat, did I miss something last episode? She and Kat are up on the roof talking about birds, and I'm like, oh, they knew each other previously? Okay.
Didn't they just that last episode?
Yeah, in the last episode, she introduced her to other people. Like she knew her.
I had forgotten all about that. Okay, all right. Well, anyway, moving right along. My big issue with the show is still, we are a lot more coherent right now, which is exciting to me because I feel like I can sort of grasp onto something. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like it's like a tree that's a really good climbing tree eventually, but getting up on that first branch is like impossible. That's what the show is. But the thing I still have right now is everybody is made as gullible as they need to be in the moment just to make a plot point work. Just constantly, everybody, and it's just so ultra maddening. Steve, why don't you start us off and tell me first of all what you thought of the Bruce Wayne stuff this episode.
Well, Silver State Cloud's the perfect character for Gotham because she was never coherent in the comics anyway. So you can't possibly do any worse. And it's also, Eric made this joke, so I'll just steal it. This is also the perfect reason why Steve Englehart can go on a rant on his website and explain why Gotham was absolutely 100% his idea. But
yeah, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't put an article up after this episode.
He's got to. But yeah, I don't know. It's better than it's been, I think. But that's not saying much. This is a cartoon, and this is not a mature, regular show Steven Universe cartoon. This is an Adult Swim filler cartoon that you can watch on their website. The Bruce Wayne stuff was weird and awkward, and I guess I kind of like that they brought in Silver as a childhood love interest for him, because that character's always had like a weird history with him that's never delved into. And if you're going to use an immature romance, that's the place to go. But at the same time, it's not really that interesting. I don't buy that Bruce Wayne would be as gullible as he is when he's sitting right next to Theo Gallivan. And
oh man, I just don't buy it. That guy's he hams it up so hard. I know we keep talking about this, but oh my god, everybody's dumbed down to make that guy work. It's like everybody's like, I don't know that the last episode when Gordon's like, he seems like a good guy. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
He's evil incarnate. There's no way people aren't picking up on this. It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce is at least a little kid, so I mean, you can sort of buy a little bit more from him, but then he's made such a like more mature kid at the beginning of the show, where he's like a lot more disciplined and stuff, and then now they've kind of backtracked that a little bit, throwing a girl at him. I mean, that's okay to a degree, where like his hormones are starting to interfere with his obsession with becoming with getting trained to fight and having discipline and all that stuff's okay. But he's not picking up on Gallivan. I still don't buy it any more than I buy Gordon or Alfred or anybody.
Flashback to first half of season 1, where we had that great moment where Bruce Wayne wants to be this deep, mature, smarter, intellectual person, and yet he still punches out Tommy Elliott and suddenly becomes a little kid again. And then they do something with the fact that violence is his outlet, but he's still a kid at heart. And now he's just kind of a dumb rich kid with the name Bruce Wayne. He's the image Bruce Wayne pretends to have, and that's kind of annoying.
With a really tiny Batcave.
Yes, a ridiculous.
I mean, that is so fun. I like, just give me the sense that there's some depth to it. It goes back far. It seems like it's not even a cave. It seems like it's just like a bad cave.
Bat closet.
Yeah. Also, Steve, I set you up to bring this up and you didn't, so I'll do it. So really, we got Bruce Wayne in this show saying the line, "I'm ready to begin." Okay.
Oh yeah. That's hilarious.
Okay. Lau, what did you think of this? Especially the Riddler stuff.
I know. You guys know that I love me some Ed. I don't know what is wrong with me. I think me and Miss Kringle are on the same sort of crazy pills because I love Ed so much. And it's really going to come back to bite me in the butt because, something happened. But that was still my favorite parts of the episode. I don't know. I think maybe I just really enjoy his acting. I don't know what it is. Also, I was just really put off by Kat's whole plot line because of the whole, like, human trafficking thing. And then they held up an entire auction with a flamethrower and one gun. And nobody did anything. She literally just, like, blew fire at them for a second, and then they were all like, all right, okay.
They acted like they'd never seen a flamethrower. I mean, like, if Firestorm had flown down there, I could see them all be freaked out enough for them to like steal the money and run. But it's a flamethrower.
Yeah.
They're like, the guy's like, you're right. Like, yeah. The guy who's running the auction. Oh my God, that delivery was hilarious. Where he's just like, oh, okay, never mind. He's like, what are you gonna do? Oh, you have fire. I've never seen fire. It's like, look, I know these are savages, but they're not those kinds of savages. Okay, like. Oh my God, that cracked me up. I want to talk about the Ed stuff for a little bit. So where in the world did his other personality go?
Good question.
What happened to? Where is it? Like is
they borrowed it, I guess. We'll see him come back with it.
Has he just gotten like a little bit more confident? So the idea is that like it disappeared. There should have been.
It seems like his other. It seems like yes, there should have been a scene about it, but it seems like after he had his, like, argument with himself about, like, needing to be more outgoing, he just became that other personality, and, like, other Ed just kind of doesn't exist anymore or is, like, dormant for now.
That's potentially an interpretation. And I think we might even be giving the show too much credit for thinking that they're even thinking about it right now. But he doesn't seem like he's completely embraced that other person. He's somewhere in between, so I don't buy that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, I'm grasping at straws. I just really like Ed.
It'd be an interesting way to take it if it was almost a codependent thing. Like, because he's with Kringle, he doesn't need a separate personality. But now that she's dead, he shows back up again.
Yeah, sure. No, Lo, I'm not asking you to defend your liking it. I'm just asking logical questions. I don't understand that. And speaking of dumbed down, I mean, like, we stretched that out for 2 episodes just so they could sort of have a relationship, and he could later say that she was his girlfriend while he's pining away for her after he accidentally murdered her, right? I mean, like, her reaction to his having killed Dougherty is ridiculous. This is completely ridiculous because, first of all, she suspected him of it in the first place, and second of all, when the way he describes it, he doesn't really tell her exactly what the situation was in the first place. So the way he describes it, he easily could have claimed self-defense. I mean, like her being like, "Oh, you're a murderer," was ridiculous. But it was also ridiculous that he didn't that he wasn't like, "What? Did you miss the part where I said like he attacked me? Did you miss that?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the show. It's sometimes it's completely melodramatic like that, and other times it sort of plays like a normal TV show.
I mean, this is a show where a guy got his hand cut off, and now he has a hammer on it. So
yeah, but
let's
that
put a
was hilarious.
chainsaw on his stump.
What was
next
that
episode?
Lo, that was the best
Put a
Barbara
chainsaw
impression.
on his stump. Thanks.
I want you to do that again later. I just keep doing Barbara impressions. But yeah, and once again, dumbing people down. I mean, like, Galavan is supposed to be this master manipulator guy. He shouldn't have bought Butch.
well, he didn't. He did set him up.
Well, did he? Okay, I guess I missed it.
I mean, like, he shows up.
I thought he just walked in. Like, okay.
I mean, just to be fair, he's still over melodramatic and kind of dumb, and we know what's going on with the Penguin stuff now, which is ridiculous. But he did kind of set him up.
Are you expecting me to understand the show, Steve? I mean, that's not a reasonable expectation. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick is that I really hope, and I don't expect it, but I hope that Gordon has a little bit of character growth from this episode. This is a big place where he should be getting a little bit more mature and smart about things, because he sees what being so emotional and reactionary to things like he is at the beginning of the episode leads to when that cop at the end shoots when he was told not to, and Bridget ends up setting herself on fire. I mean, like, there should really be some emotional growth after that. I don't think it's going to happen, but there should be.
Yeah, there was a lot of Gotham trying to be, like, real and relevant in this episode, and it kind of landed not necessarily flat, but awkward.
Awkward.
I felt
yeah,
like
it landed awkward.
I still kind of enjoyed this episode more than I think that this is having the opposite effect that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did, where I'm enjoying it more now that I'm not marathoning it, because it's the second episode in a row that I'm like, okay, I'm okay with this episode. I didn't love it, but
yeah, I know I'm mostly complaining. Like I said, the best thing I can say about it right now is that it's coherent. It's or more coherent. I honestly kind of liked some of the cat stuff. I don't know. Steve, I want to ask you this question real fast too. Is Indian Hill a thing?
In Batman?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I've never heard it referenced really.
Okay.
I know there was an article I saw somewhere where they explained the Indian Hill thing, but I didn't read it, so I'm not sure what their intent is behind the show.
Because they are really trying to build up some Wayne Enterprises mythology right now, which I appreciate. I was just wondering if that came from someplace.
I don't remember it anywhere, but I could just be blanking. I have no idea, actually, off the top of my head.
I also think the show is really impressed with itself for coming up with the last name Bunder's Law. Oh God, they love saying that any chance they get. Bunder's Law. I don't know what it is about that. We love that name. Rasco, any questions or comments?
Okay, so this is from William Parcell. Do you think they should just let go of the idea of this being a Batman prequel and just treat it like an Elseworld story?
I think they kind of have to at this point.
It's already an Elseworld story in the sense that, you know, it's a reimagining thing. But yeah, I mean, like, I think you can still expect probably a obligatory put on the batsuit at the end thing, but yeah, I mean, like, it needs to go its own way. I mean, that's my answer to that question is do whatever you want to. Kill off major characters. Go your own way.
Do you want another question?
Have Bruce Wayne turn into a giant bat. Just yes, Rasco, go ahead.
This is from Johnny Torch. The Penguin subplot has been mildly interesting. Interesting to see if Butch's brainwashing is kept, or if he's leading Oswald into a trap.
Did you guys ever think that we would be talking this much about that character? Butch, I mean?
I guess not, no.
No, not really.
He was like a nothing. He didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
I still don't get why he kept him around brainwashed. You can find anyone to do your bidding if you pay them enough.
In Gotham, you could probably find somebody that's already got a chainsaw in his hand.
Yeah, like Penguin says in the previous episode, you can just look at him in the phone book.
On his stump, not his hand.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. The actor is wearing it on his hand. Go ahead, Rasco.
Mind the gap. In some ways, Gotham's Gordon should get darker and lose hope, so that when Batman appears, he has some hope again.
I could see that. Do almost a 0-year thing. I'm getting kind of sick of Gordon, in all honesty.
Me too.
So.
And he's supposed to be the protagonist, I think.
Yeah, every
question
time he's
is-
on screen, I'm just getting exhausted. I'm like, dude, do something. Don't just grunt about every little detail that goes wrong in your life. Do something.
Steve,
question is-
tomorrow is a new day. Sorry, go ahead, Lo.
Can this actor handle that? That would be awesome, but I don't think that he could do it.
Lo, I'm gonna fight you slightly and say that I thought he was fine the first half of first season. I don't think it's the actor. I think it's the writing. However, it's possible that the show has ruined him.
He just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's taking the material. He's either not taking the material seriously or he's taking it too seriously. I'm not sure which right now.
Yeah.
I bet he just doesn't even read the scripts anymore. He's just like, I'm getting the paycheck, right?
Well,
I
he
can
knows
improvise at this point.
60% of his lines are going to be, "It's a new day."
Yeah, it's a new day, yelling about something, just repeating the last thing someone said to him rhetorically because he's angry. That's kind of his shtick.
Make out with people, with girls in the middle of the precinct, and then wonder how your police captain knows that you're dating her. Rasco, one more about Gotham.
Okay, so this is from Michaela. Was anyone else amazed that Tigress and Barbara spoke this week after like 3 episodes of just making out? I mean, it was just one word. Yeah. But it's the only thing they've actually said to each other all season.
That's more dialogue than Montoya and Alan combined.
No, that's true. Yeah. And Montoya, incidentally, is another character that's made out with Barbara on several occasions.
Oh, Barbara.
That's a really great point, Michaela. Thanks for that. Yeah. They're just around. They're just the hench chicks, right? I mean, like that's what they are right now. And it makes me wonder if Barbara is supposed to. I mean, I've wondered since day one if we're supposed to actually care anything about that character. And now that she's been relegated to a psychotic hench chick, I'm really wondering that. But you know. Anyway, and then she's like, "Hey Butch, you remember that one time when you held me at gunpoint?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you were a totally different character back then, and I still didn't like you, but." And I'm actually kind of glad you're psychotic now because I at least can digest that. But
honestly, the only point that I ever really liked Barbara was when I thought she was going to be like poor man's Harley Quinn, and that was even a plot line that I kind of hated. Like.
Let's move on to Flash, guys. It's Fury of Firestorm, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love the Firestorm stuff in this show. It's a thing that I never cared about in the comics, and this show made me love their Firestorm. And doing a second-generation Firestorm now in order to keep Stein alive, I thought was a really cool way to go. I gotta wonder though, how in the world they never researched the Firestorm Matrix enough to not know this was going to happen? Like, how did they not know that? They're like Caitlin's looking at that computer and she's like, okay, so I figured out that his molecules get unstable if he's not connected to someone. I'm like, how did she not know that?
Yeah, it was kind of bizarre. Like, you would think some kind of weird side effect happened if they were too far apart for too long.
Yeah, anyway, I thought that was odd. Steve or Lo, go ahead and take us away. What did you guys think of this one?
I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was kind of weirded out that they made up a second Firestorm character instead of just bringing in Jason Rush. Or the other guy whose name I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I didn't even look these up. I wasn't sure if these were like maybe there was a 52 Firestorm. I don't know.
There's not to my the Gail Simone Firestorm wasn't Jefferson Jackson either. I don't think they brought in a comic book villain with Henry Hewitt. He's Tomahawk, I think his name is.
Oh, weird. Okay.
So
I thought maybe that was.
Jason Rush.
See, I assumed immediately they were creating their own version of Deathstorm.
Yeah. I guess they are. It's just kind of odd, considering how comic book everything else is. Like, we know Wally West is coming up now. Why would you not make regular Firestorm?
Yeah, that's a good point. Big question I had about Hewitt was, why is he so upset that he's not Firestorm?
That's a good question.
It's anger management.
Angry.
Okay,
Yeah, that's his whole character, is that I want things, and I'm a smart person.
I get that, but no, that's a status thing, I guess. But like, Firestorm shows up, and he's like, and he's like, that was supposed to be me, and I'm like, you have really similar powers, and you can control them already. I don't know what you're so upset about, and you don't have to merge with anybody. Like, you got the better end of the stick here, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, like, what's he so pissed about?
Yeah, but the silliest thing in the whole episode for me was, let's send Firestorm up against that guy immediately after we merge.
That's sillier than King Shark?
No, that's a good kind of silly. King Shark was awesome. That was a great idea. No, I loved how that paid off, because I was like, are they really going to do that? And they got to the end, and there he is. I'm like, yes, this show will go that far. No, come on, Steve. He's like, oh, good, we've saved your life. Now let's send you off to fight this guy who is going to be a lot more angry when you get there because of you. And we haven't had any time to like study this, make sure that it's actually going to stay stable, that it's working okay. And I don't know why Flash couldn't fight that guy by himself.
Well, Flash
kind of did.
Confident by himself. Like, he needs someone barking in his ear how things work if he's going to do anything right.
Right, that's true.
Which is annoying. But yeah, it's kind of bizarre that they would just send out Firestorm to do that.
That's all I'm saying.
There's a point, he kind of did fight him by himself, because there's a point where he goes like, let's play Catch Me If You Can, or whatever he said, and he's like running around, like drawing the attention, and I kept noticing Firestorm is just floating there, doing nothing, like, just being there, being Firestorm.
Your job is to remind everybody that this is an episode with the word Firestorm in the title.
Firestorm.
So anyway, but yeah, so Steve, how did you, or Steve and Lo, both of you guys, how did you guys feel about the thing with Iris's mom and that she's dying? And by the way, she has McGregor syndrome, and it's a lot more common than we realized. And
it went from being last week was like a thing that I was like, wow, they're handling this kind of well, like people are being mature, to just me kind of hating Iris, and then I don't know.
I didn't hate it per se, but it seems like Iris went from being really mature to really angry way too quickly. Like, if there was a conversation where she was reasonable and then she found out everything was a lie, I'd be okay with it. But she was just mad all the way through, and I didn't get it.
I didn't either. I mean, last episode, because it almost feels like she was pretending to be reasonable in order to dramatically freak out at her mom in that scene. And then you get to the end, and she's like, even though you're dying, I want... And I'm not saying that just because the woman's dying, she should completely embrace... I'm not saying... I like that it didn't go that way. I like that it wasn't like, oh, okay, you've only got a few months to live, so now I don't have any of the feelings I had before. But something in the middle, right? You get to the very end, and she's like, I don't care that you're dying. You shouldn't have lied to me. And by the way, I'm not going to tell my dad about it. I don't know about that. Because that's obviously going to come back to bite him. And clearly they're setting up Wally West with that.
Yeah.
Or at least I'm assuming that's what that is.
Yeah, they confirmed that that's who it's going to be in an interview. Like, they're not even pretending to hide that. But yeah, it's kind of bizarre. It's just that middle scene thing. And Arrow had this when we talk about it, where it seems like there was a scene in between events that was missing.
Yep.
Because things just happen. And I'm not sure if they had to cut it for time or if there's an explanation, but it made Iris feel like she really regressed.
Well, she hasn't stormed out of a conversation in a while. We had to make sure it was the same Iris.
It's just so upsetting because it was the same subplot with a scene where she easily could have done that, and I was so proud of her for not doing that. And then they made me like her so well in the first episode of the season, I thought, they've reinvented this character. No.
Like character growth.
How many times? Yeah. What? And how many times have they done this with Laurel, Steve?
Yes, every couple episodes it's like that with her.
We complain that Gotham can't write female characters, but these shows have that problem sometimes.
Oh yeah, they do. I guess with Gotham, they just admitted it right away because all of their women are crazy. In Arrow and Flash, it's a matter of every single one of them has the potential to be a great person, and they are just mean for no reason.
Yeah. So at least Kara's not crazy yet.
Yes, yeah. I hope she stays optimistic and awesome. I really like that Violet.
It also bugged me throughout this that we weren't putting more emphasis to these guys, and I realize that's a big commitment, but it was weird to me that we weren't putting more of an emphasis to the guys that we were trying to merge with Stein, that we're doing this so we can save a man's life. Did you guys have that? Because too often the arguments were, don't you want to be a superhero? And you're a scientist, scientisty things, and I don't know, you had that thing with Jackson where Barry says, oh no, we're not actually here to fix your knee. We're here so that you can help become Firestorm. And I was like, well, here's an idea. Why don't you say A, you be not just generically, you get to be a hero, but you get to save this person's life who needs you. And B, tell you what, you do this for us, we'll maybe work on that knee thing. That seems like a thing we might be able to help you with.
Yeah, just borrow Bruce Wayne's thing from Dark Knight Rises. You'll be totally fine.
No, you don't have to say it. Look, Star Labs, you guys have to have some stuff where you look into that. You guys built a cosmic treadmill. I feel like a knee. It's like maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre that they were marketing it as, go be a superhero, you're going to be awesome, and you get to fly around, when it's, look, all that stuff's just a side effect of you saving this guy from dying. It was kind of bizarre, and they never mentioned it. And I assumed they were going to bring it up. We didn't get a lot with the Hewitt guy, but when he stormed out, I thought we were supposed to hate him because he was more fixated on his own thing and not saving Stein's life, but Jefferson Jackson was kind of the same way. He was ultimately a more likable character, but what was the real reason he decided to do it? Because he wanted to be a superhero, or because he wanted to save another person's life, and no one talked about it?
I'm not sure. I mean, he flips on a dime, right? He's got that line where he's like, well, I want to save people. That's what I want now. I'm like, that's not what you wanted five minutes ago. We've got an obligatory speech from Caitlin that makes you change your mind, and sometimes that can work. I just don't think I bought it there. Like, contrast that to Arrow this week, where you've got that line, and yes, I'm about to say there's a thing that Arrow did that was better than a thing Flash did in the same. Yes. You get to the end of that episode of Arrow, and you got that speech, and it's a hammy speech, but you got that speech from Lance where he talks that cop down from killing Oliver, and the whole Justice League. I bought that she might stop what she's doing after he said that. I didn't buy the thing with Caitlin.
No, I didn't either. And Caitlin was really just mean-spirited the whole episode. I'm not sure what was up with that.
You think mean-spirited? Why do you say that?
Like she just flat out assumed that because this guy's a scientist, he's automatically a better person and a better choice. What she said to Jefferson Jackson was like one of the harshest things to ever. Like, what was the point of that speech? She admits that she was wrong later, but that was a really, really mean way to talk about it.
I'm with you. I mean, she at least, she made a mistake and there were consequences for it, and I like the don't judge a book by its cover kind of message with both of these guys. All that was okay, I guess. But yeah,
I just didn't buy that she'd be that kind of superficial about these sorts of things.
No, I didn't either. I mean, it's sort of like Felicity dating a guy because he's got jewelry all this. I mean, like, these are people that I thought were a little bit more complex than that. You go to the beginning, and I thought it was even kind of harsh when she said, no, let's go with this Hewitt guy. He wants to actually do something with his life. I was like, really? Yeah. The world needs mechanics too, dude. Like, I don't know. That ain't fair.
Yeah, and I mean the whole thing.
That's judgmental. Like, you're not looking at his past at all. Like, the guy had an injury and couldn't go to college. That ain't fair.
Yeah, no, I hated that whole thing of like, oh, well, so what? You didn't get to play sports. You still should have gone to college. Does she know how expensive college is?
Yeah, like, that ain't fair. Most of us pay for college for at least a decade after we leave. That's not fair.
Yeah, no, it's not fair at all. I hated that.
But anyway, where's Jay? Where is he?
Yeah, that's a good question. That was really strange. He left like 2 seconds before Stein was knocked out, and then he just didn't show up this week.
I guess he just called from his hotel room. He was like, "Is he all right? Okay, good."
The Big Belly Burgers are finally catching up to him.
Man, I'm liking this one a little bit less as we're talking about it. I did enjoy it a lot while I was watching it.
Yeah, it was fun. King Shark and King Shark. And he's awesome. He's King Shark.
King
Harrison
Shark.
Wells showing up was interesting.
Oh no, that was exciting, and I'm so glad we're doing it in having a meet Mary as early as we are. That's excellent.
Yeah, I liked how well they seeded it too. Like I got it spoiled for me, so I knew going into it that Harrison Wells was going to show up at the end. But the way they were playing around him the whole episode, I was still surprised when he showed up. That was edited really well.
And I also like that we still, we've seen him every episode, but we still have really no idea what version he is, anything about him. Is he the same person that we knocked out of time at the end of last year? Like, we don't know anything.
No, we don't. And it's cool. It's kind of exciting.
It's really exciting. I love it. You're just no telling where you go from here. It's a total mystery.
Yeah, no, that stuff's going to be really interesting, and I hope ultimately it makes a lot more sense than last season.
Plus, he's the best actor in the whole show, so I'm just glad he's back.
Him and Joe. There's no one anywhere near as good as those
Somebody, please give him his own show. I don't mean the Harrison Wells show, although I would watch the crap out of that, but I mean that actor. Just give him his own show.
Even when it was back when he was just making science-y things. Like, if it's a science drama with Harrison Wells, I'd watch it.
Rasco, how about some... No, it should just be Harrison Wells, like, teaching you about science. It's like a PBS show. And he's just... it's like Bill Nye the Science Guy.
If Bill Nye gets a biopic, Harrison Wells plays him.
Oh my god, that's
gotta happen.
That's awesome. Okay, Rasco, questions or comments, sir?
Okay, so AMC Comics. Why did Team Flash just leave the Flash costume out on display when they were interviewing for the new Firestorm?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, I didn't understand why they were like, we're with the Department of Safety. Like, that sounds like first of all, that sounds like a standard department. It's a new department. I'm like, you don't have to say that. Like, that sounds like and then they're like, let's go to Star Labs. I'm like, well, okay.
Also, out of curiosity, wouldn't people be more responsive if Barry showed up in costume saying, "I'm the Flash, I need your help to save a person's life"? Like, wouldn't that be a lot more effective than just walking around in civvies?
But yeah, why did they need any kind of pretense? And once again, I'm sorry, I'm complaining about things. There's this. Okay, real quick. This is gonna sound like a soapbox. I've got to say this. These shows have got to quit pretending like characters are good role models and having them be flippant about being morally ambiguous. They gotta quit doing that.
Yeah.
When we've complained about it all season. I mean, the killing a couple people and not talking about anything was bad. And I'm not saying this is worse than that, but I cannot believe that he takes blood from two people, says I might have skipped the asking for blood thing. Why are we being flippant about that? Just ask them.
Yeah, no, it was awful.
Barry, I think I'm freaking out too much about that. That is I don't like kids watching a show that's telling them this is a good role model, and he's going around doing things like I don't like that.
Yeah, no, it was awful. It annoyed me. It almost took me out of the episode when I saw that.
They do that a lot. It's kind of like just, well, it's like it's contemporary. These days, morality is just not as important as it once was. Come on, guys. You don't have to do that. How cool would it be? This is a world where we know we're going to have a Flash museum. We just had Flash Day. Have Flash show up to these guys and be like, I'm the Flash, and I need your help. Do that. Seriously.
Exactly that way, also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, if it was Jay Garrick, that's how he would do it, because he's the Golden Age Play. He'd be like, the Flash needs your help. Anyway, Rasco.
Okay, this is from Nostra Preposterous. They used Jefferson Jackson instead of Jason Rush because they have already used another actor named Jason Rush in season 1 of The Flash, and they wanted him to go on to Legends of Tomorrow.
Did they already use Jason Rush? I didn't realize that.
Oh.
I guess.
I don't remember that at all. I feel like okay, sure, why not?
Cool. Well, it sounds like they have a plan.
I mean, there's still another Firestorm in the comics. His name is like Martin something. He's a Russian guy. That's all I remember.
So are they going to have... Wait, there's two Martins?
I think so. I know there's a different Firestorm than Ronnie and Martin Stein and Jason Rush in the comics, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
It would be neat if we had 2 Firestorms flying around.
Yeah, I mean, he was part of the John Ostrander run right after Conway left, and I can't remember his name. He's a Russian dude. That's all I remember.
Don't you guys think that a Firestorm show would have had just as much of a possibility of doing well as this Legends of Tomorrow show?
Probably. I would have watched that.
I still say you should have done that, but whatever. I mean, a team show is potentially a cool idea. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about that. But Rasco, one more.
This is from William Parcell. Do you think Barry will eventually be faced with a reality where his mother lived?
I think we've answered that before, but yeah, I think so. I'd be real surprised if they didn't do that. And then we'd have a reason to talk about it again, because people are really annoyed that this year they're not bringing that up. This will be one of those things where fans will keep freaking out about that, and you'll have some obligatory offhanded thing where they'll do an episode where Barry will be like, we've not talked about my mother in a while. we better talk about her. And then they talk about her for like 5 seconds. And then he's like, no, they'll just have one scene, Steve, where he looks down at his circle with the white on it. He goes, every time I look at this new emblem, it reminds me of my mom.
That's Teen Titans Go level of cheesy.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Steve and I are going to talk about this week's Arrow episode. It's Beyond Redemption, which is my review of Season 3.
That's exactly perfect.
Having said that, something happened with Arrow. It's like it went to AA meetings, Steve. Like Arrow has sobered the heck up, right? Like, I dare say I liked Arrow this week as much or better than I liked Flash. I'm gonna go that far. Now, the end of it is cheesy as all get out, and there are a couple things that I think are just absolutely nuts, and Laurel is still just the most god-awful person on the planet. But look, she was that way all the way through Season 2, and I loved a lot of Season 2. So I can live with that, because I'm kind of used to it by now. But, we gave Lance an episode again, and he got a lot of really cool things to do, and I've always loved that actor, and I just thought he absolutely tore it up in this. The dialogue is still a lot better than it was through all of last season. Yeah. And, I don't know, man. I'm enjoying the show again, Steve, at least compared to what it's been. What do you think?
Yeah, it's better. My biggest problem, though, is still Lance. I love the actor. I love some of the scenes he's given. But I feel like his arc's not making any sense.
Okay, go ahead. I knew you were going to say that. Enlighten me, sir.
A big thing is we get to the first episode of the season. I rewatched this just to confirm and make sure I'm not going crazy. We get to the first episode, and the reason Dignito and the rest of Team Arrow has been having so much problem is that's totally what he is. He's Dignito. Is because
Dignito.
Welcome to die. Is because Damien Dark is into the city, and he's got a whole hive of associates, and everything's going crazy because Hive just has more resources. Now, Lance says that he aligned with Dark because he needed help combating Dark? Like, he needed help saving the city, but Dark's the reason he needs help saving the city in the first place. So
see, that was okay with me, because I thought he just didn't understand who was doing it in the first place. Like, he trusted him.
He knows it. He obviously knows it. They already talked about it.
No. He knows it now, but I don't think he knew it when he paired up with him.
Yeah, he did. When we go back to that first episode, they talk about how Damien Darks is the guy behind this, Oliver and Lance. He knows. That was the big cliffhanger at the end of the first episode, is that, look, he's working with the bad guy.
I know that, but give me a sec, Steve, because he's already working with him before the season starts.
Yeah, but
so the assumption I made, just based on what we were given, was that he aligned himself with a guy just like Blood. Look, when you got names like this, just stop trusting people. But he aligns himself with Dark because the city's going to hell, and then he okay, maybe I'm making inferences. I thought the idea was supposed to be, but suddenly I'm realizing that I don't know where I'm getting this from, so I'd have to go back and look. But I thought the idea was supposed to be that he that he was using Laurel like as leverage over him after that, like he wasn't like he stopped cooperating or something. But maybe that's not what it is at all.
Well, he said that he went to Dark in the first place because the city's going to hell. The city's going to hell because of Dark. Only after he wanted to quit did he use Laurel afterwards. So Dark's the reason for going to Dark.
No, I get what you're saying. I still don't understand why you have a problem with that, though. Like
the Laurel being an issue thing. He knew Dark was behind all this from the very beginning. We know this from the first episode.
How do you know that he knew that from the very beginning, though?
Because they say it in the first episode. Like,
yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that. I don't
remember.
First
episode that
I was giving the show no credence at that point, Steve.
They say in the first episode, the team member has a discussion with Lance, like everyone, the guy behind this is Damian Dark. We know this. And then he's working with Dark. That's the cliffhanger for the first episode. The whole Laurel over his head thing doesn't happen until later.
Okay.
Which is weird. So I don't get why he's working with Dark at all. Like, what was the point of working with him if he's the reason that he's having problems?
Okay, I have to go back and look at it again, because if making her leverage it happened like between those episodes or something, like I could kind of see that where it's like I'm working with him and then I just realized that he's bad.
Well, I mean, again, they say in the first episode that they know he's bad, but I don't know, that bugged me. The other thing is that he mentions in this episode to Oliver, I have a heart condition. He does not. There's no way he has a heart condition, and he goes through all this stuff with Laurel and Sarah and just not die. Like, that's really inconsistent and annoying. Other than that, that's pretty darn funny. But you've got to give me this, Steve. That scene where Oliver says where he's got that big speech to him in his apartment, and he says, "You used to hold yourself up as better than me, and you were." That's good stuff. Oh yeah, that's great. I love when Oliver says that deep down I wanted you to see who I really was. I really like.
Oh yeah, that was all really great.
And then Lance trying to shoot Sarah. That actor just does a phenomenal job in that one scene. Although my only issue with that is there's that scene. And then the very next scene, he gets kidnapped. There's something in between that's missing.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's a good point. This show has a lot of that, though, where somebody's just suddenly strung up, and you're like...
Yeah, it was weird. Like, there's that great scene where he's all emotional about the Sarah thing, and then the very next scene, he's in an apartment getting kidnapped, and I don't know what's going on with that.
Besides some of the stuff that you were talking about, Steve, I'll throw out the thing I think is the funniest, stupidest thing in this whole episode. So you're gonna have a new headquarters, and the new headquarters looks awesome. It's really cool. But you have this new headquarters, and you're having all these glitches that are completely debilitating to your system. So you move there before you fix them. Like, you have another headquarters that was working just fine before. Why did you move before the glitches? Or that was really dumb.
I thought the glitches were because of the same thing that's going on with her phone with the Atom.
Yeah, like they just started.
They don't say that though. They say there's a throwaway line that Felicity has that Cisco said. Cisco said there would be some glitches.
Huh. I don't know. The way the glitches look, I thought it was the exact same thing as what was wrong with his phone.
No, I didn't get that sense at all. And if it was, Felicity during that should have been like, oh god, it's that same thing, and she sees the code, maybe she can do something about it. No, that was unrelated as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Anybody in the comments, if I'm wrong, let me know. But she's got a line where Cisco's like I knew there'd be some glitches. Like, why did you go there then? Like,
well, they went there because the last headquarters got crashed by the tattoo card playing guy, so they know where it is.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I forgot about that.
Okay, it's cool. It looks really nice,
that's not quite as dumb as I thought it was then.
Costume setup kind of thing.
Yeah, that is cool.
But yeah, I mean, other than the stuff we brought up, I think it's a good episode. I did enjoy it all the way through. Again, just the Lance and Oliver stuff and Oliver running for mayor, I really like.
I like that too. The thing at the end is, and I mean, like, I kind of smiled anyway. It's so hammy anytime we bring in the stuff that he says before the episode starts. Like, when he goes, after 5 years in hell, I was like, they're doing it again. You guys did that last year. Like, oh my god, you're going to do it. And in a speech. And what makes it even funnier is that means that Felicity wrote his opening monologue.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
she wrote that speech.
It's a funny, but I still like it overall. Like you said with the Lance speech, that's also really over the top, but it's still, I think, does its job.
I also really like, this is something I picked up on, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, but I like that Lance has found himself in the same sort of compromising position that Oliver's mom was in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I think that's really kind of neat, especially because we've been comparing these families, this whole time. I just feel like we've gotten back to some of the roots of what the show used to be about.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And hopefully it sticks to that. I get annoyed with the Master Manipulator plot every season.
Me too.
But if they're gonna do something with that family comparison and we go back to the way they wrote Malcolm Merlin and made it like a business ethics thing, I'd be down with that.
The nice thing is we've already knocked that out. Like I like that Oliver's already figured Lance out, and that they're gonna do the double cross thing. Where he's going to pretend to keep working for him. I'm glad, by the way, that he didn't have to, in order to go back and pretend to keep working for him, he didn't have to get his hand cut off and put a mallet on it. That's good. And I also would be really surprised
that Lance wanted to turn himself in. I thought that was great.
Although, it brings up that stupid problem that we always have to address, right, Steve? Where I'm big enough to turn myself in. He should also be like, but Oliver, you need to at some point too, because you're still a mass murderer.
Yeah, he's still a serial killer. That someone needs to talk about that.
Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter. The statute of limitations, as we heard from Lionel Luthor in season 3 of Smallville, the statute of limitations on murder never runs out. Or maybe it was season 2. I forget, but that's one of my favorite Lionel Luthor lines. But anyway, so yeah, that's, I don't know, that is always silly. Where he's like, I've got to turn myself in. It's like, but Oliver gets moral high ground now, and most of that moral high ground stuff works, but he still is kind of a murderer. Also, did I miss something, or did Lance get a little bit lucky that he just happened to, just because he was busy, to give Oliver the case that he's not aware that he would want to do this, but that he would not want to give to another cop because he has no idea that there are bad cops that are doing this. And he just happens to give it to the vigilante.
Yeah, that's a little bit convenient. Although I do kind of like the plot of this. The police officers have very few resources. That's kind of getting back to a more realistic thing of the show, where if you were really in a major city like Star City, then something like DNA evidence or lab work would not get back to you as instantaneously as it always does.
Well, yeah, and we've got to contrive some kind of somewhat believable reason that the Arrow gang is even needed anymore.
Yeah.
Speaking of that stuff, though, Steve, I don't buy that there are 40 people on the anti-vigilante task force and we've never seen anybody go after Team Arrow. like in that 6 months he was gone because Lance acted like it was still operational. So like in that 6 months that they were gone, like Lance has fought with them. Where is the task force?
So Lance is tying up his own resources if he's making 40 officers just sit there with no information.
Right? And also if he's working with the vigilantes, and like the way it played, and this probably wasn't intentional, the way it played was, yeah, I set that up last year when I was mad at you, Oliver, and oops, I forgot to disband it. That's what it sounded like. Maybe he did disband it, but they didn't talk about that.
No,
Rasco, any questions or comments real quick before we move on?
Okay, so this is from Red Leader Antilles. Isn't it getting old that they explain everything with Cisco built it?
Yes.
Yeah. And
being able to do a thing doesn't give you money.
It also doesn't give you the architecture skills to design that room.
Yeah. But he makes very sleek weapons, so...
This is true.
What else, Rasco?
So this is from Crazy Steve.
Crazy Steve!
Something I don't get is that Oliver is judging Lance for working with the bad guy when last season he worked with Merlin.
Oh...
Yeah, that's another issue.
Oh, you just made this. You just dropped this like 0.5 for me. Actually, I wasn't thinking about that because I try not to think too much about season 3 now because it's difficult to enjoy what's working when that season was beyond redemption. What else? What else, Rasco?
Okay, so this is from William Parcell. What do you think of Oliver running for mayor? I know Arsenal took the blame, but there's still no way he could have run for mayor after that.
Yeah, and people still should be suspicious that he was the Arrow all along. I'm always gonna say, you guys, there's gonna have to be a meme at some point, right? Of Galavan versus Arrow versus Oliver Queen from Air, right? Like, it's got.
Yeah.
That's gotta be a meme at some point.
Lots of weird mayor stuff going on in TV this year.
We're just obsessed with and task forces, mayors and task forces. One more, Rasco.
Okay. This is from Diggle's Dumb Helmet.
Yeah, Diggle's Dumb Helmet. We love you, man.
So is Sarah going to kill Thea? Malcolm said to get rid of the anger and bloodlust, you have to kill the one who hurt you.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe they'll go that way. Oh, also, I meant to mention this earlier. There's no mention of Thea's bloodlust this whole episode.
No, there's not.
Malcolm said that since she killed those two League of Assassin guys in the last episode, he said that she'd be fine for like a month or so. Last episode.
Oh, that's right. Thanks for reminding me about that. Yeah.
She should still be a little bit more, like, I don't know, depressed that she had to kill two people and that she has to live with this now, though. I feel like that needs to be discussed in some more detail.
It is a little bit awkward that it's just an addiction.
Yeah.
That, like, it hasn't actually affected her, psychologically beyond that. Like it's not really an identity thing. It's just, oh, you're the normal you. You just gotta kill somebody every now and then. You're like, you're basically a vampire.
Yeah, you're exactly as you are, except for those ghosts telling you to kill people every now and then. Totally normal.
Yeah. They're like every 3 or 4 weeks or so, until you kill somebody, you just got these voices. And you're like, kill people. Well, shall we move on?
Constantine next week.
Constantine, I can't wait. Oh my god.
I saw the teaser trailer for the next week, and the moment John says, Diggle's like, what happens if it doesn't work? And he says, if it doesn't work, well, I'll be too dead to care. That's such a John Constantine line. I'm glad they got that voice in. I don't usually look at the previews for next week, but I could not help myself. I just can't wait. And I hope we're not disappointed, because I will say it, I am giving my hopes up a little bit, because the season suddenly got better, and we might get a spin-off from Arrow on the CW of Constantine if that happens. Boy, that is history in the making, is what that is. That is bizarre stuff.
They should just throw him in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes, they should. Okay, I'm taking this off, because it's just not even working anymore. Oh my god, I've got crazy wig hair. Okay, anyway. Oh man, it occurs to me that I set this camera up to make room for space for this much wig. Okay, let's move on now to S.H.I.E.L.D., shall we? And the S.H.I.E.L.D. episode in question is 4,722 hours. We finally get an explanation, a whole episode about what happened to Simmons on that planet. And you guys remember when we first found out where she was, that I was like, I wish we could have seen some of that. And it seems like it would have been like would have been cool to do like a Chronicles of Riddick with Simmons. That's exactly what they did. It's so cool. I enjoyed a lot of things about this, and I think the production values in this episode are like the best this show has ever been. It is like the digital stuff they did with the moons and stuff is just freaking breathtaking. It was really, really pretty. Let's start with Lo, because Lo likes this show more than me. What did you think of this one, Lo?
This episode was amazing. I loved this episode so much. It's like everything I actually want out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I understand that they can't always have this high, like, I'm assuming a lot of money went into this episode, so we'll probably see some episodes that are, like, very bottle and, like, nothing is happening. But I just, I loved everything about it. I loved that we didn't cut away to other plot lines. I like that we just got to spend the entire episode with Simmons, figuring out what she went through. I would say my only complaint is that they went to the place of making her, the astronaut guy, be her, like, love interest.
Yeah.
I was, like, just really hoping that it wouldn't happen, and then it did. But, I mean, I could see it being okay with me if they revisit it and do it in a nice way, but right now I'm just kind of a little bit like, really? We couldn't just have them be friends.
And I liked that they were for so long that there was no even mention. I mean, like, these two were together for weeks and weeks, and he's immediately, this doesn't sound crass of me to say, this guy is immediately sympathetic in never even attempting to make a move on her.
Oh yeah.
That was really cool. Now he didn't make a move on her. They both were interested. There's nothing wrong about the way it happened. It's just it seemed like the obvious typical thing to do. But I'm with you. Lo, do you have what I have, which is they have been playing around with maybe these two will actually get together for so long that if we've introduced this guy as a third wheel in a love triangle, I'm not gonna be happy.
Oh yeah, it's just another obstacle for Simmons and Fitz. Like obviously they've been working toward this for a while, and they've been doing it in a really organic way that I really appreciate. That it's not just here's a guy and here's a girl, they must be together. Like it took them long enough to get to that point that I'm okay with Fitz and Simmons being together. That now it's just like, ugh, really.
Yeah.
But that's like my only complaint about this episode.
And I think that's exactly what we've done. I mean, I think they're going to go get that guy, and he's going to become an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they're going to date, and Fitz is going to be moping like he already is.
Poor Fitz. I just want him to be happy.
Manos, we haven't heard from him. I want him to be happy so I don't have to watch him mope anymore. That's the only reason I care about his happiness. Manos, we haven't heard from you in a while because you haven't watched anything we've talked about in a while. What did you think of this episode?
I agree with Curious Lo. I really enjoyed this episode quite a lot for many of the reasons she actually cited. I love the fact that they committed to it and did it. They didn't cut away to some scene of Ward whining of a plot. Oh, thank God they didn't do that. No.
War should be complaining about lack of plot.
Yeah, or whatever, that kind of stuff. Those kind of stupid scenes.
I'm kidding.
And I know. And yeah, it actually created this really excellent atmosphere where you were stuck on this planet of 70s van murals with Simmons and this astronaut guy. And it really did create the tone that I think sold the episode, sold her story, it sold her isolationism. The scene with that pool of water, like, is there something in there? I really need to drink and eat, so okay, let's risk it. It dealt with that very well. It dealt with her loneliness. It dealt with their relationship very well. It was very believable how they didn't trust each other at first, and then they learned to trust. Wow, it was just it was very, very smartly written and handled. And it's like we've had weeks where I've ragged on this show, and the part of why I rag on this show sometimes is because of episodes like this. I know what this show is capable of.
It.
I know how good it can be, and when it's not good, it's irritating because I know that because unlike Gotham, I know they can do it. I know they can do a great show.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is why I stick around and watch the show week to week. Outside of little stupid tidbits about stuff that's probably going to be used in a movie, maybe or not, is episodes like this that are very enjoyable, and I dug the hell out of this one.
See, I always say the show is not real great at standalones, and here's one to prove me wrong. It's a pretty decent standalone. This is like a creepy 1960s sci-fi film where you drop some people off on a planet, they're stranded, and there's some kind of looming scary thing in the background, and it's also kind of a Twilight Zone episode. I really liked the traditions that this was born out of, and I kind of like that we never really know what the thing is.
Yeah.
Is maybe pretending to be the spaceman at the end, or if there even is a thing, because it's possible that stuff was all in their head, and just with the sandstorms, I guess. What did you think, Steve?
Minor issues, like the Fitz thing potentially being a love triangle, which I don't like. There was one line of dialogue that I didn't really care for, where Simmons has to point out that the difference between 2015 and 2001 is 14 years. And aside
for 14 years, yes, well done, basic math.
Aside
You're a
from
scientist.
that,
You've got 2 PhDs.
This is the best episode of the series. I think
wow, geez.
really, really
I agree.
great. This is, I think, a legitimately great hour of television, and I think that's a first for them. I really loved everything about this. I could write a paper on this episode. I loved it so much. And I was surprised. Like, I was genuinely surprised that I was as invested in this as I was.
Yeah.
But the way everything was handled with Simmons' isolation, the way they worked through some of the stages of grief, this idea about the transhumanism and using technology as not only a means of survival but a natural expansion of what it is to be human. You can interpret the entity as just a will of death, or you can interpret it as a physical thing. The whole episode being all about a will to life and a will to power. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. That moment where the first portal shows up and they can't get the bottle through is heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I thought this was great.
And I love the little moment with the sunrise. Like, just look, there was a lot of little moments in there that were great.
Contrast Simmons' reaction. This is not fair, but I'm going to do it anyway. Contrast Simmons' reaction when they can't get the bottle through to Edward Nygma not once but twice going, "No!" I forgot to bring that up earlier. Can you believe they cut back to that? For no reason. They just cut back. No! I have a couple little quibbles. You get to the end. I mean, I liked it. I like this for everything Steve said too. But you get to the end, and I did find myself, and maybe you guys can sway me on it. I did find myself thinking that what we saw doesn't exactly match up with her reaction to it through the series, through the season so far. Because she's so out of touch when she comes back, like she's had no human contact. And the way she's acting when she gets pulled in, she even seems a lot more well-adjusted than when she comes through. Now, she might just, now, you could just interpret that as depression because her friend got stuck behind. But I don't know. I questioned it.
That's kind of the way I took it, as her friend being left behind. Lo might have a different take, or Steve might, but that's the way I understood it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought. I mean, I thought they did a pretty good job of keeping some of those moments there. Like when Fitz pulls out the chair for her in the restaurant, and she cries. And in this episode, it's very early on. I hope he doesn't pull the chair out.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know. I thought her reaction was pretty okay. I think part of it was, it's not that she had no human contact, it's that she didn't have sensory bombardment with everything going on in the world. Like, she had nothing but sand for 3 months, and then suddenly there's a whole bunch of moving objects, and she's not looking over her shoulder 24/7, and she doesn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about it felt a little bit retroactive to me, like they hadn't really planned out exactly what had happened to her yet. But you're swaying me on it. I appreciated the whole thing with his taking her to dinner a couple episodes ago a lot more, because I had completely forgotten that line at the end of last season. I was kind of glad they led with that again and showed it to us again before they went through, especially because it's not a flashback. It's just where we start, so it doesn't feel like they're spoon-feeding us stuff. Steve, I think part of the reason you love this episode so much is because your biggest complaint about the show usually is spoon-feeding, and we're with one character this whole episode.
Yeah, everything in this episode was just so subtle in places. I was really surprised. If I didn't know better, I would think Joss Whedon wrote this episode, and he didn't.
Yeah, it could have been. Rasco, any questions or comments, sir?
This is from Lonely Chips.
Lonely Chips.
Do you guys feel that the entity on the planet, not the one Simmons ate, could actually be Death herself with some possible Thanos tie-ins later on? The first time we went to distant space in the MCU, it ended up relating back to Thanos.
I'd be surprised if it was connected to that, but I mean, it could be.
Especially because it seems like they're very much trying to get back to this planet, and that this is going to be more of a Simmons trying to get back there sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It would be weird to build all of that up and then not deal with it on the show. I don't know.
Yeah.
I imagine the entity is going to be something we'll revisit within this series and not within the movie series. I would be surprised.
I would imagine that the entity is a thing that we revisit next episode when we go get the guy. Or whenever that happens. But, yeah. Rasco, anything else?
This is from William Parcell. How far do you think they'll take the Inhuman population boom? I mean, surely the Avengers would become aware of it if it ends up being so many of them.
Well, I don't think it really is all that consequential if the Avengers know about it yet or not necessarily? Because I mean, I hate to have to constantly have this discussion of like what are they doing and why aren't they involved, but they could be involved in some other thing right now. I don't know. No one else is weighing in. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just so stunned by that comment. I was just.
Oh,
really
I'm sorry
about
if I said something very controversial just now.
Oh, that's
Oh,
amazing.
jeez. Wow.
Let me just contemplate on that.
Rasco, how about one or two more?
Okay, so this is from Rin. Do you guys think they might be doing a Wesley slash Fred thing with Fitz and Simmons, where after years of not getting the girl, Fitz finally gets to be with Simmons only for tragedy to ruin it in the very next episode?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't go there.
Yeah, I can see that happening in the future. Although I don't like Fitz anywhere near as much as I like Wesley, but that's a different thing.
I feel like if they go back and forth so many times, not only making us think that these characters, each of them might be dead multiple times, but that they might be, kind of different enough from what they used to be that they're just not even compatible anymore. That yeah, at some point they're going to get together and then they're going to kill one of them off. I don't see them not at some point finally killing one of these characters off.
I just wish they didn't feed it to us so many times. Like season 1 had a thing, season 2 had a thing, this has a thing. I wish if they were going to kill one of them, we didn't have 3 other occasions. When that actually happens, it's gonna have to be a Lois and Clark thing. Where we're finally doing it in the title.
I'm with you, and that is obnoxious. But I was reminded, I'm glad somebody mentioned Fred and Wesley, because I was reminded of Fred a little bit with the guy on the planet, because he's the guy that's displaced. He's in the wrong place. He's outside of time. He's detached. He's given into his baser instincts. And then when he shows back on Earth, how's he gonna adjust? It's a similar kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a lot more together than Fred was.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it's a very similar thing. I like that he even locks her in a cage for a majority of their first encounter.
Yeah, but why did he build it?
I don't know. I guess he probably wanted to catch the entity at one point or something.
Or maybe he built it for the other people that were killing each other.
Maybe. I don't know. That's a good question.
But I wondered about that. I was like, why does he have a cage?
Because he was bored. He was alone for 14 years.
So he built a cage.
What I do in my spare time, build cages.
Like bunk beds or a hammock. Or bunk beds and a hammock. Maybe a fireman's pole.
Maybe he's like one of those guys who likes, to set up wrestling matches in his backyard and
With himself? He's the
steel cage match.
All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about our last episode for today that's not Heroes, which no one else watches but me. It's iZombie, even Cowgirls Get the Black and Blues, and it seems like there's always one. This is one episode I didn't get a chance to rewatch, take notes on. So, I'm gonna need your help in refreshing things. I remember the cowboy brain and that the song was awesome. That's what I remember. Let's start with Manos.
Yeah, hey,
Hey.
Cowgirls Get the Black and Blues, because she was beaten to death. Get it?
Oh.
And I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed this episode as well. This was, digging. There's a lot of plot. There was a lot of plot stuff. I think that the series plot stuff kind of dominated the episode mostly.
Yeah.
With what's going on with Major, what's going on with living, Blaine, taking and maybe getting close to her friend as she comes back into the play. We didn't get much Max Thresher or whatever that's called.
And that's why it was better than last week.
It was a little better than last week, frankly. And I enjoyed the way the mystery played out. Actually, there was a little more randomness to it than this usual, Sherlock Holmes kind of, detective mystery resolution. It was just a bad day. It was just something awful, which is 99% of how crimes end up anyway.
Well, that's such a great point. Yeah, the lack of premeditation, I think, was a really cool way to go, especially because they established it at the beginning. and then it should have been an obvious plant, right? I didn't call it.
Well, because we're so used to shows like this, like, oh, it's because this guy did this and that did this, and it's like, no, you know what? Sometimes people are awful and they kill someone. That's how it goes.
Yep.
And I like how that ended up in this episode.
He was trying to kill somebody else. Although this is the second time this season where it was kind of an accidental thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I do like the song a lot. Yeah, and this is coming from someone who does not like country music at all. Even before country became this rap pop stuff that we're listening to. I thought that scene was really good, quite a bit. I like it. It goes. I said this last week, and I'll say it again this week. It really is giving Liv this chance to really experience and live humanity through these other people, and it is kind of enlightening her world actually by these experiences, and this is definitely a good example of that. And I believe that was probably the actress doing her own singing, and
it was.
Yeah, it was very impressive. And I know this is a genre show, but she really could go for an Emmy nomination at some point during this next year. I think from what the show asked,
I wish.
She does, because
she's great.
In 4 episodes we've seen her go back and forth with these character aspects.
This is harder than playing a different character every episode, right?
Exactly.
You look at something like Elijah Dushku in Dollhouse, where you're playing basically a different character every episode, and that's commendable, and she did a great job with that. But you look at this, and it's all about identity, and you got these subtle nuances. So like she's playing herself, being like affected by other people, but still being her and not acting out of character. It's a clinic of how to do out of character episodes. And they do it every episode. It's fantastic.
That's actually a great point. Yeah, it is. It is a little more complicated than doing like different people each week, because you can literally start from scratch and go anywhere, and you don't have to worry about the continuity. But no, she's playing the same person who has her personality affected by these brain she's eating. So it's definitely affecting her in these different ways, and and it's like in subtle ways too. Like her accent like got a little southern because of this brain, and she got a little raspy when she ate the old racist guy's brain a few weeks ago, and I think it was the season premiere. Yeah, and it's just it's just a wonderful performance week in, week out. I would probably say she might be the best lead actor in these shows we're watching.
Which, I know we've mentioned this a dozen times, but I just love that she used to be a Power Ranger, and you just said she's the best actress, or she's the best actor of anything we're watching right now, men and women. I would agree with you. She's definitely way up there, and it never would have occurred to me to think that she was maybe award-worthy. I would go that far. I think you're right. Lo, what did you think of this episode?
I really like this episode, but I think it's actually my least favorite episode so far this season.
Okay.
And I mean, it's still iZombie, so like, it's still great, but I was not feeling the FBI agent and Clive thing. It felt very forced. He was just like flirting at him, and I mean, maybe they'll go somewhere with it. I'm sure she has her own plot line that will be introduced at some point, but and also with Blaine suddenly being involved with Peyton, or maybe, I don't really know what's going on with that. They certainly seem like they're going to try and make some sort of convoluted something. But
well,
yeah, that's like mostly what I had to say.
Why is that immediately convoluted though? Because
it's just, I don't know. It feels like, I mean, maybe not convoluted, but just it feels very forced that like, all right, Peyton's finally back in her life, and they're good. Liv and Peyton are good, but now we're gonna introduce Blaine into Peyton's plot line.
She hooks up with her major enemy, like her biggest evil arch nemesis.
It's almost as bad as her living with the daughter of the Max Rager guy.
Well, yeah. No, that. Okay, you win on that. But the question I have is Blaine aware of Peyton's association with Liv? Because if so, this could be calculated.
I don't feel like he could be. I mean, because like that part like never really crossed over into like last season, like he never really knew a lot about Peyton. He knew about Major, but I mean, I guess he could, but they just haven't really shown that he would.
But yeah, and I mean, obviously, the main reason, because his whole thing right now isn't go after Liv. I mean, he's trying to get his hands on the cure and stuff, but he would go after her primarily because she's the DA, I would assume.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is that like I would buy it more if he was doing it to go after Liv, but I don't think he is. I think that he's more doing it just because her best friend happens to be the DA and everybody's lives are all, you know, interwoven.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that because this is the kind of show where I could see them in 5 minutes in the next episode immediately winning us over on it.
Oh yeah, and I won't put it past the show, but it just was something that was a little bit like in this show for me, in a show that is usually full of positives.
No, you're not wrong. I didn't think of it like that. Steve, you haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best episode of the season yet, but I still did really like it. For basically all the reasons you guys mentioned. I thought the comedy was a lot better this episode than it usually is. I feel like a lot of the places it was a little bit more subtle than it tends to be. Like I particularly love the running religious jokes thing with Blaine. Like when that guy's like, I found Gabriel, and it's like the Archangel. And then when they find Gabriel and he's giving a speech, he's like, "That's Gabriel," and Blaine says, "Does it have to be?" And then the whole debate about whether or not Jesus was a zombie, and the guy's like, "Well, what do you call it when someone has you eat their body?" And Blaine just shows up and says, "Narcissistic."
Yeah, that was good. That argument was so preposterous because I love how that guy was like, "Nothing you're saying makes any sense at all." Like,
and the guy has to talk to him using a cell phone because his voice box is gone. Like, I love that stuff. I thought that was really, really funny. But yeah, it's a good episode. It was creepy in the right places. I'm loving Major. Major season 2 is season 2 dark. I love it. Especially when they had that argument with Liv near the end, where he even brings up the whole thing of, is this you talking or is it just another brain? And that he was high while they were having that conversation. Like everything with his life going downhill is fantastic.
Oh yeah, he's just a complete mess. And they did a great job of making me care about him before that happened.
Yeah.
Where he's not an unlikable jerk. Like he's gone through some crap, and I feel bad for him.
I really liked that scene at the end between Liv and Major because I actually started thinking about like a scene from last season where she came to him and I think Logan and you and I actually had a minor argument about that.
We did. Yeah, I remember that distinctly. I'm still right about it.
I'm still right about it. And I still think that was a really badly written scene because I don't think it was mature. I don't think it handled the situation maturely enough. This scene did. They went back and actually talked to each other like people who have been through things together, and it was just so much better written. Maybe it's just the natural course of working into a show. You got to know the characters a little bit better. But I love the Jesus conversation. That was hilarious because that has been a running joke for the last few years, like Jesus zombie stuff, and that Blaine line was awesome. God, I love Blaine. He's a great character. That actor and that character is just great.
You'd think you'd like him less after he turned human, and he's gotten 100 times more interesting. I mean, it's like Spike with the chip.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. They just need to tie him to a chair for an episode, and I'm kind of be set.
I just hope he's not human for 5 seasons. That's all I'm saying. Rasco, give us a couple questions.
Okay, so we don't have a whole lot, but
watch this show.
We do have a few. So
it's online. You can watch it. It's easy.
Free. Do it. It's crud. You don't like zombies? That's okay. Me neither. Watch it. Sorry. Go ahead, Rasco.
This is from Diggle's Dumb Helmet. It annoys me how much more this season hinges on her personality changing than last season. Season 1, she got some characteristics, but this season she completely changes.
Yeah, do you think that it's that profound? I definitely had that the first episode or two. And I think, that's the reason that I didn't like the frat episode as much as you did, because I felt like she was way more affected by that one than she had been other ones.
I just thought it was funny.
I agree with you. I thought it was hilarious.
Rascal, I'm not saying whether or not it's funny. I'm saying whether or not it's consistent and viable. And look, this person in the Diggle's dumb helmet, like he always is, trying to have an intellectual conversation with us, Steve. And yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know that they're going too far every episode, but.
Okay, so here's one. Here's one from William Parcell. What did you think of Blaine starting to be affected by the utopium?
I didn't even notice that he was.
I didn't pick up on that.
Was he? I
Remember?
maybe it wasn't this episode. Wasn't he in? I feel like he noticed. I feel like maybe that was in a previous episode. If something happened this episode, I didn't catch it.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on then. I'm going to talk just for a couple minutes about Heroes Reborn, and then we will... we haven't missed any episodes, have we? No, this is everything on my list. So, folks, right now, go ahead and the 99% of you that aren't going to care about the thing I'm about to talk about, go into the poll right now, and vote for your favorite show. And this can be an interesting week to see what wins, because there were a lot of really decent episodes this week, and some just really great stuff. And then we will give you the results of that, and then we'll do just a little bit of open forum. So Heroes Reborn, we've got June 13th, Part 1. We're doing a thing that Heroes traditionally does, where they like to flash back to a major important day before the season, and flashback via time travel. So it's not really a flashback. You're learning a lot about a thing that we keep talking about, but you're doing it through characters that are going back and trying to change something. And I liked things about it, but this show more and more, and I hate to be super down on it, but more and more, we just got characters that aren't acting like real people to me. I'm having a really hard time with it. I feel like we have really dumbed down HRG just quite a bit. He's moment to moment, I just don't even know what he's thinking. I mean, he's usually the guy that's like a couple steps ahead. He knows a lot of stuff, and I realized that he got some of his memories erased, but that is always a thing with that guy. There are a couple scenes where I'm trying to remember back because I watched this a couple days ago, but there are a couple scenes where I remember him just reacting to a thing entirely differently than I thought he would. I also wish that so much of this wasn't hinging on Claire, because it's that typical problem of your main character that everybody loved, you can't get the actress back to play her, so you got to contrive some way to write her out of the show, but you still want the show to hinge on it because she was an important character. So she's died in the past, and I think I buy the way she died. I mean, it is a difficult character to kill because her power is she can't die. She always heals. So it's like the way they did it was okay. But like in any other thing, HRG would go in and look at her body, and you'd actually see the body, and of course you don't see it because we can't get Hayden Panettiere to come back on the show. So I just like the whole idea of even making her a major plot point is a thing that just is constantly weird, because you wish you saw her, you wish she was there someplace, and she can't be. And then you've got. And you've got what I feel like it feels like it's kind of the obvious way to go, where you've got the twins, and she died in childbirth, and all that's just really melodramatic to me. I did really love the idea of finally doing some more interesting things with superpowers. I really like the idea of take the twins, because one of them is supposed to be destined to save the world. You take one of them and you send them back 13 years, and then have them grow up to be an older age when you get to where they would be born. I think that was a really cool idea. And then the reveal that one of the characters we've been following all season actually is one of her kids. I thought it was a really neat reveal, and I didn't see any of that coming. That was really cool. And then legitimately awesome, exciting cliffhanger with the two HRGs in a hallway together, about to have to attack each other. That was season 1 stuff. That was exciting. And this show has been honestly just kind of dull for me, and kind of plotty and plotty both. It's not finding a great balance between plot and characterization. It's such a plotty show, and that's what I'm not loving about it. But that cliffhanger was really cool. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see and talk about part 2. All right, so that's what I have about that. Do we have anybody in the comments talking about heroes?
So we have 2 questions/comments from Melanistic Moon.
Yeah.
I appreciate that Hero at least cares about the consequences of time traveling.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I didn't bring up Hero at all. Yeah, I'm with you there. The only problem is Heroes has always had this problem, this convoluted thing of what is it okay to go back and change, and what is it not okay to go back and change. And Hero has this whole thing about how anything that is fated we can't mess with, and he keeps talking over and over again. He says we can't step on too many butterflies. And the problem is, it's arbitrary, and I don't know how you would know exactly what is fated to happen and what isn't. And I have a really tough time sometimes with the notion of fate and destiny in the first place. And so that seems like oftentimes a plot-driven thing where the show has decided that anything that has to happen, that it wants to happen in the season, that's fated. And sometimes characters feel like they've kind of read the scripts. But anyway, what was the other comment, Rasco?
It says the whole destined hero thing with Claire's children was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, the idea of sending kids back in time to grow up and be the right age the day they're born, that's cool. But yeah, the whole well, no matter what happens, no matter what we change in the past, one of these kids is definitely going to save the future. Yeah, I'm with you. It's hokey. And I also still, by the way, this is not related to that, but I still just cannot stand this villain this season. She is a cartoon character. We were talking about how Cat Grant is a cartoon character. Oh no, this lady, totally a cartoon character. Dr. Claw level cartoon character. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go on now to the poll, and let's talk to the panel and find out. Thanks, panel, for bearing with me while I do that. And let's talk to you guys and see what you guys thought was the best show this week. And we begin with the Curious Flow.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was definitely my favorite. No contest.
I don't know why I bothered to ask. I should have known that. Steve, I feel like this is unpredictable. I don't know what you're going to say right now. Actually, no, you said write a paper. You're going to say S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I really, really loved Supergirl. I thought Supergirl was incredible, but I gotta give it to S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is, I think, technically the best episode we've seen this week. And probably the best episode of that series.
Manos.
This is close for me, too, between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Supergirl. I think Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. was technically better. There was actually no flaws that I could see in that episode. So I'm going to go with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. by a hair.
Yeah, it's weird. We almost never all line up like this, but I think I'm also going to say Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But yeah, I don't know. And as much as I complained a lot more about Supergirl than you guys did, but I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I enjoyed it a lot. And especially on a technical level. But man, that actress, she's got me. She's a joy to watch. So it's kind of a tie between those for me. And I'm just excited. One of the things too is I'm excited to have a Superman thing back on screen. It always feels wrong when there's not Superman on screen somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're in costume, and they're not ashamed of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I take that for granted now because we've been doing that for so many years now for the last couple of years now with Flash and Arrow. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that's really exciting. It's funny that that's one thing Lois and Clark got right. Like, they weren't afraid of costumes. They were afraid of supervillains having good costumes, but
or good supervillains.
Rasco, we never talked to you about this. I don't know how many shows you watch, but what was your favorite episode this week?
You guys all voted for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, then I'm gonna ruin it. I'm gonna say Arrow.
See, and just like with the poll, I can't tell if you're trolling or serious.
I'm serious. I'm gonna ruin it with Arrow, but I'm also serious.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can see that.
I liked Arrow this week too. Yeah. Okay. So no, we're not gonna make fun of you. for voting for Arrow. I do
enough.
think
They won't make fun of you.
Speech is more than enough to vote
I
for
make
that.
no promises.
Well, you didn't watch it, so you don't have any. It's not. That's
Yeah,
not
I know.
fair. I'm gonna. But you're welcome to do whatever you want to. It's illegal. So you guys probably won't be surprised, but Arrow won the poll again, and once again, it was a better it was a decent episode, but I'm very surprised by the percentage with Supergirl. I mean, like, this thing has been really acclaimed. Everybody's really happy with it. A lot of the critics are just freaking out about how much they liked it, and it got the ratings were really good. 11% in our poll of shows this week, which I'm really surprised by. And you'd think, oh well, going up against that great Shield episode, Shield only got 13% of the vote this week. Arrow got what's that?
Oh, you were just about to answer my question.
Oh, that's okay. Arrow got 54% of the vote, and Flash only got 11%. So once again, as I always do, I kind of got to see people for the longest time, including Manos, have told me, no, they're just trolling us.
I agree. I think
these people don't really think, but unless people aren't agreeing with me, Arrow's gotten quite a bit better this season, and we're not sandblasting it like we had been because we're liking it more. And this is still happening, so I am very confused by it. And nothing against anybody's opinions. I'm just confused about it because Flash is so popular. I would think that it would be winning the poll over Arrow, and it hasn't been. It hasn't been getting close. It's fascinating.
Well, you haven't been trashing Flash like you talked
I know.
about. Like
I
Arrow.
know. Well, it makes me think that the people that a lot of the people that are voting in the poll aren't the people that are commenting in the comments. But I don't know. Anyway, so it's just a thing I'm curious about. Anyway, well, guys, we've been going for a couple hours. Let's do just like 5 minutes of open forum real quick, just because there's always something folks want us to talk about. And Rasco, as soon as you start seeing questions, throw them out.
Okay, we have one already.
Oh, good. Well, then go right ahead. Go. I don't have to stall. It's exciting. Go ahead.
This is from JID123. Hey guys, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on a growing concern in the Star Wars fandom that Episode 7 will be too much of a retread of A New Hope, and that the film will focus too much on the nostalgia and pandering to the original trilogy instead of moving forward and doing something new. Evidence to this concern being a third Death Star.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say to that is that is immediately a fair criticism or a fair concern, because it's J.J. Abrams directing it, and he did exactly that with Star Trek. So, I mean, that's the first thing. Second thing, though, he's in love with Star Wars. It's his favorite thing. And also, he didn't write it. And he didn't write Star Trek either. But I mean, like, I would be very surprised if it was just a nostalgia trip and there was no substance to it. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair, but I mean, okay, we have a potential new Death Star. We don't know the context behind it. It could mean a whole bunch of things. And also, they might harp on nostalgia initially, but they've already got a second movie in production. They're branching out and making more movies outside of just using these main characters. They're not afraid to move forward, I don't think. So, I mean, it might be a legitimate concern in places, but I think we have lots of evidence all over the place of these characters and this new universe and this new story moving forward and being the focus. If they were just going to retread nothing but nostalgia, we wouldn't have a Knights of Ren that clearly aren't Sith or anything like that. I feel like it's distinct enough just from the trailers alone that I'm not really worried about that.
I also get the distinct impression that there's gotta be stuff homaging and bringing back, pre-Empire stuff. Because, I mean, like, just the Knights of Ren, I mean, that's a thing. It looks very, EU, but it also reminds me of some things in the prequel trilogy. And then, like, the Marvel stuff and some of the other, Disney things, in Expanded Universe right now have been doing a lot of things to like, bridge the gap between those two things. Yeah, I think we'll all be pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to talk about them?
No, I agree 100%. It's a legitimate concern, but let's see how the movie turns out. I am not as worried about it.
I mean, we're a month away at this point, so
we're gonna know pretty darn soon.
Let's go.
Yeah.
There's a new Star Wars movie in like a month.
Oh, I know. I'm losing my mind. I already bought my tickets.
Same.
Me too.
Yep.
Rasco.
Okay, so this is from William Parcell, which conflict do you think looks more interesting, the one in Batman v Superman or Civil War?
Have we confirmed for sure that they're doing Red Hood?
No.
By the way, with Batman, I wanted to bring that up real quick because I just thought of that. Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask you about that because Steve, because that came up today and I was like, wait, is that a thing? I don't know. I'm equally excited about both of those things.
Yeah, so am I. I like the Russo brothers a lot more than I like Zack Snyder, and I like the Marvel movies more than I like Man of Steel. But, I mean, it looks good. It's written by Chris Terrio, so I'm excited. But, I don't know. They both look interesting.
I'm more excited for Batman v Superman right now, but I feel like it's just because we've had an actual concrete trailer.
Yeah.
As opposed to a blurry one.
The thing about whether or not the Red Hood movie has been confirmed or not, like, in the Batman v Superman trailer, when Bruce Wayne's reading that newspaper and it says, "You let your family die," and so many people were like, "Oh, I guess that's the Joker." But why would that be the Joker? Because it's about a Wayne building being destroyed, and unless the Joker knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, why would that be from the Joker? And
no, I didn't make that leap either. I thought that was making the collateral damage in Man of Steel personal for Bruce Wayne, and we've already got what is almost clearly a Joker thing written on a Robin costume, which is the real reason to make the Red Hood leap.
Yeah, and yeah, that makes total sense coming from a Jason Todd Robin. You let your family die.
Oh, that's interesting, but I think it could just as easily be somebody else in that context. You see what I'm saying?
And I mean, to be fair, we heard Ben Affleck talk about the Batman movie. He's supposedly co-writing it. They don't have a script yet. He's not even sure if he's doing the movie because he's already filming and directing his own thing. There's really not a lot of substance to the Red Hood thing. They may use it, but they don't have a script.
Yeah, so it's like, where would that rumor have even come from? I don't mean to talk about rumor territory. The only reason I brought it up was because it's been so everywhere. Just like a lot of things, I just didn't know if it was confirmed yet.
Yeah, no, it's not confirmed yet, and hopefully it turns out to be false.
I don't know. It could be cool, but that animated film is so good. I don't know why we need it again.
You're just going to have to adapt that if you make it into a movie, and that's my issue with it.
I agree. They would have to follow the film rather than the original comic, because the original comic is just not great.
Also, how do you make the Jason Todd reveal matter to like your general audience that may not even be familiar with who Jason Todd is as a character?
That's fine. The movie, but the animated movie made that work perfectly. You don't have to know anything at all and walk into that movie and it works. All they have to do is do it like that did.
But then if they're just going to do that, then there's no point in making it a live action.
Oh, no, I agree. There's no point. But all I'm saying is, Rasco, for the longest time, I would have said the same thing. How could you possibly make anybody care about Jason Todd that didn't read that stuff? And they were able to put both of those things in an 80-minute movie and make it work.
Although, to be honest, if we're talking about general audiences, to them, Robin is Robin. So if his name's Jason Todd or Dick Grayson or Tim Drake, who cares?
Well, but
that might be a lot of people.
But Manos, they will start to care when there are multiple Robins and ex-Robin, and because surely Nightwing will be there. Like,
maybe, I don't know. I mean, who knows?
No, that's a good point. I guess there's no reason to totally make that assumption, but
at this point, I don't know. With this film series, I more so than the Marvel film series, I try not to speculate too much because it feels like literally anything is on or off the table at this point. It's really kind of mind-numbing to even guess as to what direction they're going to go with.
Well, that's kind of what's exciting about it for me.
Yeah.
Is that it could be anything.
What's exciting? It's just like you could make up anything. It's just as legitimate as anything that's possibly going to happen.
That's a good point. Rasco, how about one or two more?
This is from AMC Comics. Do you guys think that Superman will ever make an official appearance on Supergirl?
I gotta tell you guys, I'm going with a no. Although these guys have surprised us before because they're such big comic nerds. Like, I guess they could cast him, but it makes me wonder if DC would even let them. I mean, if Warner's would even let them.
That's the thing. That's the weird thing about DC and their TV film adaptations. I mean, don't forget, they had to pull Aquaman and his villains out of the Justice League cartoon because, oh, hey, we might get this pilot, so, whoa, we can't use them here. who cares? They'll probably. And of course, that pilot didn't lead to anything. And they actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they pull Wonder Woman out of episodes in Young Justice because of her pilot?
They didn't want to pull Wonder Woman out. They pulled Stephanie Brown Robin, and they pulled some Wonder Girl stuff.
Okay. So yeah, they do this all the time. So it might be more of a legal reason than a artistic reason, which I think is actually more frustrating. So that means they're going to have to work around it.
Well, I think so too, but then that would be the reason that you would, just create a different premise. Everybody's complaint about Birds of Prey was you threw Batman under the bus so you didn't have to use him. You had to come up with a stupid reason that he would leave Gotham. It's much, much easier to get rid of Superman. That's all I'm saying. Just get him off planet. It's much easier to get rid of him.
That's true. As much as I like Birds of Prey, the reason for no Batman was really troubling. It frankly never worked with me.
Nope, it didn't work for me either. It's the one thing I hate about that show, but I love that show.
Yeah, Batman wouldn't just give up because someone died. Oh wait, he did in Rises, but he would never do that.
Yeah, but in 2002, we had no reason to assume that Batman would. Anyway, Rascal, how about one more?
This is from William Parcell. Would you like to see a Knights of the Old Republic film?
Yes.
Too bad Dan isn't here. He would definitely say yes.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I would love that.
Okay, well, that was quick. Rascal, one more.
This is from Rocket. What are your thoughts on the Preacher show being developed for AMC?
The trailer just came out as we were talking, so none of us got a chance to watch it. It's what's his name? The guy that plays Tony Stark's dad.
Oh, really?
Dominic Cooper. Yeah. He's a weird choice for the main character. I'm not sure if he can pull it off, but I don't know. I hope it's good. Preacher's a really good comic series, and if we can't have Constantine, then it'd be fun to get that.
I'm a big fan of Preacher, and particularly this era of Garth Ennis's work. I think, during this time where he was working on Preacher and Hitman, there was nothing he could do that was wrong, from my opinion. I love this stuff. With that said, I have no idea how they're going to put Preacher on TV and have it live up to what the comic was. Because, for those of you who don't know, it's about a preacher trying to kill God because he is evil. It's it puts forth the argument that God deserves to die for what he's done to humanity. I don't know how you put that on TV without people protesting every week.
Well, I know how you do it. You put it on AMC.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know. We'll see. I would love it if they did that and went all the way through. But, I'm still thinking, maybe time has passed since the 90s. I remember Dogma coming out and Kevin Smith having a huge problem with that film. And that was his love letter to Catholicism. Preacher is not a love letter to religion. It's kind of a big middle finger to it. So we'll see. I'm hoping they don't have to water it down in order to, because I think that would be a huge mistake, because you would be doing a disservice to the series. And people would get offended, would still be offended. Because that happened with the, what was that kid's film? The hourglass chime thing flying.
The Golden Compass.
Golden Compass thing. Yeah, they tried to, play that down a little bit. And still people were mad. And then people who were fans of the book series were mad because they watered it down. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Preacher.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, just do it. How raunchy do you think they'll go with that?
Oh man, I don't know. There is that chicken sex scene.
That is a rough book.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're gonna see any chicken sex. So.
Manos is holding out for it. He's really hoping.
If that happens, I'll be very impressed. Wow, AMC went all the way and did that.
I'm kind of bugged that Preacher just didn't get a Netflix show. I feel like it deserves that over an ongoing TV series.
Mm-hmm. And it would work out that way. You could dedicate a whole season to the story arcs.
Yeah, exactly. Like that and Garth Ennis's Hellblazer work, they're just one very long story, and they're so charged with anger and criticism and so many interconnected ideas. Like Garth Ennis was writing about racial problems and police brutality in the 90s before it was as much on the news as it is now. Like, how do you get that out, make it feel just as powerful as it was in text, and then worry about TV ratings?
Yeah, but how censored are you going to be on AMC?
Well, AMC, I mean, with what I've seen them do over the last few years, I have been like really impressed. Like, wow, they can do that now.
Yeah, like it seems like that's just like Netflix. I think you can do about anything you wanted to there.
Well, I mean,
I know. It's like AMC can get away with almost everything except the F word and nipples.
yeah, I mean, like violence and language-wise, it's fine, but I'm just not sure how comfortable a major TV station is going to be with the kind of content is underlining all of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really hardcore on religion. You can market stuff like The Walking Dead where people get disemboweled every week, but that's a different thing than telling your entire audience that someone's trying to kill God.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just like with anything else, you just spin it as this is the god of this universe, and I mean,
But I mean that kind of ruins it. Like it's very in that religious criticism vein.
okay.
So I'm hoping for the best. I've been wanting to see. You know, it's funny. You know, for years people were going, "Oh, they'll never make Watchmen. They'll never make Watchmen." I was sitting back and going, "They'll never make Preacher. Preacher will never happen," and it's happening. So okay, I'm excited, but I'm a little also nervous. Like this could happen, but I hope it happens well. But I don't know. We'll see.
Man, somebody left a comment yesterday on a video Vince and I did almost 6 years ago now, a really early GNN we made called "What Heroes Couldn't or Shouldn't Get Their Own Movies," and this comment said, "I can't believe you guys said Ant-Man." we live in a different time now, Manos. You can't count out anything anymore.
I know, yeah. I've slowly learned that over the last few years. Like, I was impressed by Watchmen getting made and getting made as close as it was to the content.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm impressed that, like, because I've been kind of casually observing like the progress. You know, Preacher's almost happened several times. So.
And now there's a trailer, so that's definitely happening.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Primetime Crisis Live. I know we went a really long time again, but we had that Supergirl pilot, and I'm glad we spent some time on that. And anyway, so we'll see you again next week, next Sunday night at 8 o'clock Central Time for lots more TV show goodness. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan, and this was the Real Manos.
Goodbye, folks.
The Curious Low.
Bye.
Beware the Steve Baxi.
See everybody.
And our official chat moderator, Jackson Rasco.
When I close my eyes, I cannot see.
Wait, you too? I thought that was weird.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Once again, I am Captain Logan saying good night. Good night.